Welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of viewers aren't subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it's an enormous support for us to keep creating these relaxing stories. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. The night lay hushed, veiled in a delicate mist that swirled gracefully in the stillness. Nestled in my cherished armchair, a rich burgundy velvet piece beside the grand antique mirror, I lost myself in a book bathed in the gentle glow of a vintage lamp. The rhythmic ticking of the pendulum clock wove a hypnotic melody into the air, while the crackling warmth of the fireplace cocooned me in a soothing embrace. Amid this perfect serenity, a peculiar sensation stirred within me. At first, a mere whisper of movement at the edge of my vision, like a fleeting ghost. I tore my gaze from the book, focusing on my reflection in the ancient mirror. The ornate golden frame, adorned with intricate floral motifs, shimmered faintly in the flickering firelight. Yet as I peered at my mirrored self, a subtle chill crept down my spine. Something felt amiss, subtly askew. Tilting my head ever so slightly, I noticed a delay in my reflection's response, a mimicry not quite natural. I tried to dismiss it as fatigue, or the play of flickering flames casting deceptive shadows. But the disquiet grew as I continued to study the reflection before me. When I raised my right hand, its mirrored counterpart hesitated briefly before mimicking the action. A smile tugged at my lips, and the reflected visage mirrored it with a barely perceptible delay. The crackling of the wood in the fireplace now carried an ominous undertone, as if striving to convey a message. The air thickened around me, charged with a subtle tension that slowed my breath. The scent of candle wax mingled with a musty aroma, reminiscent of old tomes and faded recollections. Rising from the chair with deliberate grace, I watched as my reflection mirrored my movements with uncanny fluidity, as though executing a preordained dance rather than reflecting my spontaneous gestures. Its eyes seemed to hold depths deeper than my own, secrets veiled within their gaze. Drawing nearer to the mirror, I discerned further unsettling details. The reflected room differed subtly from my own, with books arranged in an unfamiliar order and unfamiliar objects dotting the shelves. An aged photograph depicting a serene seascape in reality bore a blurred countenance in the reflection, a gaze that seemed to follow me. The pendulum of the clock swung on, relentless in its rhythm. Yet in the reflection, time appeared to flow languidly, as if diverging from the world beyond the looking glass. Shadows cast by the flickering flames danced upon the walls, conjuring shapes hinting at silent observers. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the cool surface of the mirror, and my reflection mirrored the gesture with an almost beckoning motion. Our fingertips met upon the icy glass, my touch registering the chill of crystal, while my reflection's expression hinted at a sensation altogether different. Stepping back, I found my reflection lingering for a moment, as if contemplating whether to follow my retreat. When it finally moved, its actions seemed increasingly independent, as if gradually asserting its own autonomy. Determined, I veiled the mirror with a shroud of old velvet unearthed from a forgotten drawer. As the fabric descended, I fancied I glimpsed a cryptic smile playing upon my reflection's lips, a smirk foreign to my own features. With the mirror concealed, that disquieting doppelganger of myself remained hidden from view. Since that fateful night, the mirror has remained shrouded, yet in the quietest hours I catch whispers of movement from behind the velvet, as though a phantom traverses a parallel realm identical to my own. And in the depths of night, when the house slumbers in profound silence, I find myself pondering whether that reflection lingers still, a shadow self leading a clandestine existence in a realm of silver and glass. The truth eludes me. Was it reality or a mere figment of imagination? Yet each time I pass a looking glass, a doubt niggles at my mind. Could the reflection before me truly be mine, or has something mastered the art of imitation so flawlessly that reality blurs with illusion? Story 2. The ocean that night held a rare tranquility. I was perched on the veranda of my wooden abode, enveloped in a cozy woolen blanket, entranced by the soft caress of waves against the shore. The full moon cast its silvery light across the water, painting a shimmering path that beckoned me toward the distant horizon. Amidst my reverie, a peculiar sight captured my attention. A luminous green glow, almost ethereal, swaying amidst the waves not far from the coastline. Rising slowly from my rocking chair, which emitted a faint creak, I was greeted by the salty breeze as I descended the weathered steps. The sand beneath my bare feet retained a comforting warmth, defying the lateness of the hour. Drawing nearer to the water's edge where the gentle tide kissed the land, the greenish glow grew more defined. An ancient glass bottle possessing a graceful elongated form, enclosing a yellowed piece of parchment. With care, I lifted the weighty bottle. Its surface was encrusted with a salt patina, rendering it opaque in patches, yet the moonlight pierced through, casting hypnotic reflections. The cork stopper, sealed with cracked black wax, weathered by time, remained intact. Upon closer inspection, the glass revealed tiny crystals within, sparkling like minuscule stars trapped within the material. Returning to the porch, illuminated by the warm glow of an oil lamp, I placed the bottle on the worn wooden table and settled into my cherished armchair. The sea's melody now seemed amplified, as if conveying a hidden message. With deliberate motions, I began to dismantle the sealing wax, which crumbled like ancient ash at my touch. The cork stopper, remarkably preserved, exuded an unusual fragrance. Hints of seaweed, aged ink, and an indefinable essence filled the air. Within, the paper lay delicately rolled, secured by a faded blue silk ribbon. My hands quivered slightly as I untied the knot. Despite its apparent age, the paper proved surprisingly resilient. Unfurling it, I observed the sepia-toned ink, rendering portions of the text nearly illegible. The words danced upon the page, in a language familiar yet elusive. The script, elegant yet distorted in parts, hinted at a writer consumed by great agitation. Gradually deciphering the faded text revealed fragments. Time flows differently here, and the light is never the same. Intertwined with these words were sketches of unknown constellations and lunar phases. Notably, a drawing at the page's bottom caught my eye. A flawless spiral that seemed to shift imperceptibly when glanced at askance. As I delved deeper, the oil lamp flickered oddly, casting elongated shadows that pulsed in harmony with the undulating waves. The sea's symphony transformed, no longer a gentle lapping but a rhythmic whisper akin to an ancient chant. The air thickened, time itself seeming to slow around me. The final paragraphs of the message emerged with clarity, the ink better preserved in that section. They spoke of a realm where dreams intermingled with reality as effortlessly as water through fingers. The message culminated with a chilling declaration. If you are reading these words, it means you too have been chosen. Look upon the sea tonight, you will perceive its altered state. Raising my gaze from the parchment, I beheld the moon, now magnified, casting a geometric reflection upon the water. The bottle on the table emitted the same green luminescence, pulsating rhythmically, akin to a slumbering heartbeat. I carefully resealed the message within the bottle, leaving the cork aside. Peering out at the horizon, I pondered whether others had happened upon similar messages, sensing the silent summons of the sea. The night unfolded in quiet serenity, yet an intangible shift had transpired. Perhaps it was the stars' glimmer upon the water, or perchance it was my own perception altered. I lingered on the veranda until daybreak, listening to the sea divulge age-old secrets. The bottle rested upon the table, its green glow fading with the dawn's arrival. Uncertain if I would ever decipher the message's full significance, I sensed a metamorphosis within me that night. Occasionally on moonlit nights, I glimpsed that ethereal green glow dancing amidst the waves, an invitation to unearth enigmas that may be best left submerged in the ocean's depths. Story 3. The rain cascaded with a mesmerizing cadence upon the rooftop of the dwelling, weaving a natural symphony that harmonized with the hush of the night. Nestled in my beloved armchair, cradling a cup of now chilled chamomile tea in my hands, I found myself idly captivated by this soothing serenade when a peculiar anomaly captured my attention. Amidst the rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain, a subtle, nearly imperceptible sound emerged, faint footfalls that appeared to originate from the depths of the basement. Initially, I dismissed it as merely the routine settling of the aged abode. Old houses possess a unique voice, a mode of communication through creaks and gentle sighs. Mine was no exception, particularly on damp nights when the wooden framework swelled ever so slightly from the moisture-laden air. Yet, there existed an uncanny quality to the manner in which these sounds materialized, as if adhering to a deliberate pattern, a cadence that eerily mirrored human footsteps. With deliberate movements, I stood up from the armchair, setting the cup upon the petite table beside me. The wooden floor beneath my feet radiated a residual warmth, a remnant of the day's heating. As I drew near to the basement entrance, a gradual chill pervaded the air, as though an icy breath ascended from the stairwell. The brass doorknob felt unexpectedly cold to the touch, and as I turned it, a resounding click reverberated through the tranquil house. Descending the staircase, shrouded in darkness save for a faint azure glow filtering through the modest skylight, I proceeded cautiously, my own footfalls blending with the enigmatic ones that had intrigued me earlier. The familiar scent of the basement, a blend of aged timber, damp soil, and an indefinable essence, intensified as I ventured deeper. In the basement, shadows waltzed upon the walls with each flash of lightning illuminating the skylight. The shelves laden with antiquities cast contorted silhouettes that appeared to sway in synchrony with the rain's tempo. It was then that I espied something peculiar. Upon the dusty floor, there lay footprints. Not ordinary footprints, but rather ethereal impressions of moisture, as though a figure with damp soles had paced in circles at the room's center. Approaching the enigmatic imprints, I sought to fathom their origin. The skylight remained intact, devoid of any signs of water seepage. While scrutinizing these mystifying traces, a motion on the periphery of my vision seized my focus. In the darkest recess of the basement, where light dared not tread, a slow, obscure movement flickered. My heart quickened, yet not from trepidation. It was a blend of curiosity and a peculiar sense of recognition. Advancing toward the shadowed alcove, the air grew colder, and the phantom footsteps I had heard above echoed once more. However, it became apparent they emanated from all directions, enveloping the chamber as if a spectral presence traversed every inch simultaneously. It was then that I discerned a peculiar detail. The footprints on the floor were not random, but formed a deliberate pattern, a spiral converging toward the room's core. Tracking this spiral trajectory with my gaze, I observed that the freshest imprints, closest to the nucleus, remained moist, as though freshly made. Stationary for what felt like an eternity, I watched as these vestiges slowly dissipated, evaporating into the frigid basement atmosphere. The footfalls dwindled, merging seamlessly with the incessant rain outside. Upon ascending the stairs once more, an ineffable sense of tranquility accompanied me, as if I had borne witness to an ancient, enigmatic ritual that unfolded in the house's depths since time immemorial. That night, as I readied for slumber, the rain's patter upon the rooftop assumed a newfound quality. No longer a random downpour, it seemed to echo the rhythm of the footsteps heard in the basement. Drifting into sleep with this melodic lullaby in my ears, I pondered whether the footsteps would return on the morrow, and if I would muster the courage to await their origin, to unveil the enigma shrouded in the dust-laden footprints. Story 4. As the night descended, the snow fell hushed, draping the world in a soft white cloak that glimmered under the gentle glow of the street lamps. My duty as the night guardian granted me the privilege to witness this ethereal display alone, treading the corridors of the ancient museum. The aged wooden floors murmured beneath my feet, a familiar tune blending with the faint hum of the heating system. Pausing before a grand window on the second floor, I watched in awe as the snowflakes pirouetted through the air before delicately alighting on the earth below. It was then that my gaze shifted to the museum's inner courtyard, where a peculiar sight caught my eye. Amidst the barren trees, a figure moved silently, yet what intrigued me was not its presence, but the absence of any trace it left upon the fresh snow. Instinctively, I turned to the security cameras. In the control room, the bluish glow of countless monitors illuminated the space. I scrutinized each screen, searching for the elusive figure once more. Finally, I spotted it on a monitor showcasing the inner courtyard, but the image was distorted, as if a veil obscured the lens. Determined to unravel the mystery, I ventured out. The museum seemed enveloped in a profound stillness as I descended to the ground floor, my footsteps echoing through the empty halls, whispering secrets to the ancient artifacts on display. The air held a static charge, a prelude to the inexplicable. Through the glass doors leading to the courtyard, the snow continued its silent descent, a dance of purity and grace. And there, amidst the falling snow, the figure appeared once more. Draped in darkness that melded with the shadows, he moved with an otherworldly fluidity, gliding over the snow without a whisper. No footprints marked his passage. With trembling hands, I retrieved my flashlight, its beam passing through him, casting eerie reflections on the pristine snow. As he turned towards me, his features blurred, as though fashioned from the same nebulous substance as his form. Approaching the courtyard door, torn between duty and an instinctual fear, I pressed my palm against the cold glass, grounding myself in the reality of the moment. The figure advanced, the air growing colder around me, a frost creeping along the glass. Behind him, reality seemed to warp, objects losing their solidity, leaves suspended in an unseen current. He halted, a mere breath away from the door, his gaze inscrutable, yet strangely familiar. Raising a hand towards the glass, his gesture held an air of invitation rather than menace. Intricate frost patterns bloomed on the surface, whispering secrets in a forgotten tongue. Straining to decipher the cryptic symbols, a distant tolling of bells momentarily distracted me. When my focus returned, the figure had vanished, leaving behind a courtyard untouched by human presence, the frost on the glass melting into tears that trickled down. In the days that followed, I pored over the security footage, finding no trace of the mysterious visitor, only the relentless fall of snow in the empty courtyard. Yet on snowy nights when silence enveloped the museum like a shroud, I often found myself drawn to that same glass door, waiting for a glimpse of the enigmatic figure that left no trace. Sometimes, in the perfect interplay of light and snowfall, I fancied I saw a formless shape moving among the flakes. In those fleeting moments, I pondered if our encounter was a harbinger of greater truths, a reminder of mysteries beyond our grasp, truths that, like the figure on the virgin snow, left no visible trace. Story 5. In the soft glow of the flickering candle, shadows waltzed across the ancient stone walls as I descended into the depths of the old cellar. Each step I took echoed through the wooden floor, a sound that had long been my companion on these nightly journeys to retrieve Grandma's cherished preserves. The air wrapped around me like a cool, familiar cloak, carrying the earthy scent of aged wood that whisked me back to the days of my youth. On this particular evening, a subtle shift lingered in the air, a whisper of difference that tingled at the edges of my senses. The flame of the candle danced in an eerie stillness, defying the absence of any breeze. A thin veil of dust settled upon surfaces that I had touched only the day before, adding a layer of mystery to the cellar's atmosphere. The shadows seemed to stretch and reach into the darkness below, their elongated forms beckoning me onward. At the midway point of the stairs, a peculiar sensation enveloped me, halting my descent. The wooden shelves, usually confined to a certain length, now appeared to extend endlessly before me. The candle's feeble light failed to pierce the depths, as if the corridor itself was unfurling under my very gaze. The silence pressed in around me, broken only by the rhythm of my own heartbeat and the distant echo of water trickling through the ancient stones. Driven by a curiosity that overshadowed my apprehension, I continued onward. The jars of preserves lined the shelves, their labels bearing dates long past. 1980, 1960, 1940. Some so faded that they were mere ghosts of their former selves. The chill in the air deepened, mingling with an elusive fragrance reminiscent of ancient manuscripts. The shelves persisted in their expansion, revealing walls adorned with intricate patterns of ancient bricks and enigmatic symbols etched with a precision that defied time itself. One jar, distinct from the others, drew me closer. Crafted from obsidian glass that seemed to devour light rather than reflect it, its label bore a date that defied logic, 1820. As I lifted the jar, a faint whisper, wordless yet resonant, brushed against my ears. It was the sound of time unfurling, of forgotten stories whispering through the ages like a gentle breeze through ancient tomes. Turning slowly, I caught a fleeting glimpse of indistinct figures wading through the shadows, ephemeral memories struggling to take form. Sensing a shift in the air, I resolved to retrace my steps. Yet, as I ascended the stairs, a disquieting realization dawned upon me. The distance I had traversed had multiplied, the light at the stairwell now a distant pinprick in the enveloping darkness. With a steady resolve, I pressed on, each step a deliberate cadence in the symphony of the cellar's secrets. The shelves began to morph once more, returning to their mundane state, the dates on the jars shifting to more recent times. The 1820 jar remained in my grasp, a tangible reminder of the otherworldly journey I had undertaken. Emerging into the warm embrace of the kitchen's light, I set the jar down and cast a final glance into the shadows of the cellar. For a fleeting moment, it seemed as though time itself warped and twisted in the depths below, beckoning me to delve further into its enigmatic depths. That night, cradling a cup of steaming tea in my hands, I pondered the events that had unfolded. The once anomalous jar now bore a simple label, Blackberry Jam 2023. Yet, upon uncorking it, a fragrance unlike any other wafted forth, a scent redolent of time itself, sweet and ancient, akin to a cherished memory from childhood. Since that uncanny night, each descent into the cellar carries a whisper of anticipation. The staircase remains unaltered, the shelves stocked with their customary preserves. Yet in moments of dim light and profound silence, I feel the cellar's dormant mysteries stir, beckoning me to unveil more of its temporal enigmas. And perhaps one day, I shall summon the courage to traverse that seemingly infinite corridor to its ultimate culmination, to unravel the secrets that lie at the nexus where time loses its grasp on reality. Story 6. In the stillness of the night, the echo of my footsteps reverberated through the ancient wooden corridor. Each step I took caused the floorboards to groan under the weight of my presence, harmonizing with the gentle pitter-patter of rain against the window panes. The air held a thick sweetness, a blend of aged wood and weathered paper, enveloping me in a nostalgic embrace. Standing before the door at the far end of the hallway, the entrance to the room I had sealed off for months, I felt a pull, a whisper from within urging me to unlock its secrets. The lock shimmered faintly in the soft glow of the wall sconces, almost beckoning me closer. I vividly remembered securing it tightly the last time, a ritual of triple turning the key and testing the handle for reassurance. But on this particular evening, an unfamiliar aura lingered. A chill hung around the door, and a delicate layer of dust had settled on the brass knob, forming intricate patterns that seemed to dance in the dim light. As I drew nearer, I noticed the dust arranged in concentric circles, like an invisible hand had traced its path. The wooden door emitted a subtle warmth, a subtle anomaly in the closed-off room devoid of heating. Placing my palm against the door's surface, I sought to understand its silent invitation. Pressing my ear against the wood, I strained to hear beyond the veil of silence. In that quietest moment, a faint sound, akin to the rhythmic breathing of a slumbering soul, whispered to me from within. Retrieving the key from my robe's pocket, its warmth surprised me as I inserted it into the lock with deliberate care, avoiding any undue noise. The key slid in smoothly, yet when I attempted to turn it, a resistance met me. A surge of excitement, not fear, quickened my pulse, a sensation of anticipation for a revelation about to unfold. Trying the key in the opposite direction, it yielded with a graceful click, unlocking a gateway to the unknown. As the door swung open, a waft of warm, fragrant air greeted me, reminiscent of freshly brewed vanilla tea. Moonbeams filtered through sheer curtains, casting a silvery luminescence over the room. Everything appeared unchanged yet transformed. Books stood in a new alignment on the shelves, weaving unfamiliar tapestries with their spines. The antique armchair had shifted slightly, now angled toward the window, accompanied by an empty porcelain cup on the nearby table, a detail I couldn't recall placing. Approaching the mahogany desk, my fingertips traced the uneven dust patterns, as if elusive messages had been inscribed and erased. Beside the inkwell lay a yellowed sheet of paper, bearing a single sentence penned in a script resembling my own but unfamiliar in its origin. Time flows differently here. Reading those words, I felt my breath synchronize with the gentle sway of the curtains, a rhythm born of the room's whispered secrets. The air hummed with a hidden pulse, a symphony of whispers too delicate to discern. Sinking into the plush velvet of the armchair, I beheld the room's reflection in the window, a mirrored world where reality danced with illusion. A fleeting shadow flitted in my periphery, a ghostly presence that dissolved upon inspection, leaving only the moon's ethereal glow in its wake. Closing my eyes, I surrendered to the room's embrace, allowing the silence to envelop me in its tender grip. Upon opening my eyes, a subtle shift had occurred, each object seeming to have subtly rearranged itself. The once empty cup now emitted warmth, a wisp of steam spiraling upward. Rising from the chair, I carried the weight of the room's enigma as I made my way back to the door, my footsteps now muted against the wooden floor. Pausing at the threshold, a final glance revealed a room breathing softly, a slumbering entity nestled in its own mysteries. With a gentle touch, I closed the door, the click of the lock echoing like a lullaby through the empty corridor. Since that fateful night, a hint of vanilla tea lingers whenever I pass by, accompanied by the soft rustle of pages turned by unseen hands. The door remains shut, harboring secrets best left undisturbed, a sanctuary where time flows in a different rhythm, cradled in the hush of eternal mystery. Story 7. The gentle evening breeze whispered secrets as it carried the fragrance of night-blooming flowers into the room. Nestled in my favorite armchair, I found myself captivated by the shadows dancing gracefully on the walls, painted by the flickering candlelight. Beside me, resting on the small table, lay my treasured old Polaroid camera, an heirloom from my grandmother, its presence a familiar comfort. While it had been ages since I last used it, a mysterious urge nudged me to reach for it that night. The weight of the camera in my hands felt reassuring as I inspected it in the soft, dim glow. My fingers instinctively found their way to the shutter button, a motion ingrained from countless memories captured. Without deliberate thought, I aimed the lens towards the darkest corner of the room, and clicked. A flash of light briefly illuminated the space, followed by the familiar mechanical whir of the photograph emerging slowly. Patiently, I awaited the image to materialize, observing the colors blooming on the blank canvas. And then a peculiar sight caught my eye. In the corner of the developed photo, a vague figure materialized. Indistinct yet present, it seemed to hover like a wisp of smoke, hinting at a human form. Curiosity piqued. I glanced towards the corner in question, only to find emptiness. Intrigued, I snapped another photo in the same direction. This time, the figure in the picture appeared more defined, as if drawing nearer to the lens. The outline of a face emerged, though the features remained blurred and enigmatic. A delicate shiver ran down my spine, not of fear, but of a profound curiosity that stirred within me. Compelled by an unseen force, I continued to capture images, each unveiling a clearer depiction of the enigmatic figure. It was as though it used the photographs as a vessel to manifest itself, each snapshot granting it more substance in our reality. The vague contours sharpened, unveiling what seemed to be a vintage dress, reminiscent of the 1940s. The room grew quieter, the air heavy with an unseen presence that lingered. The temperature dropped imperceptibly, the candle flame flickering in a dance untouched by any breeze. Enthralled, I clicked away, each photo a silent exchange between the mysterious figure and myself. In the final photo of that mesmerizing evening, the figure loomed so close that it nearly filled the frame. A gentle smile graced the woman's face, her eyes seeming to meet mine through the glossy surface of the Polaroid. A sense of familiarity washed over me, stirring memories long dormant within. As I rose to retrieve an old photo album, I noticed a slight tremble in my hands. Leafing through the aged pages, I stumbled upon a picture that confirmed my suspicions. A young image of my grandmother, captured with the very same Polaroid. The smile mirrored the one immortalized in the last photo I had taken. Arranging the photos chronologically on the table, they wove a silent tale of a connection bridging two realms, crafted through the lens of the vintage camera. I never dared to recreate that surreal experience, returning the Polaroid to its place on the shelf. Even now, on tranquil evenings when the sunlight bathes the room in a golden hue, I find myself drawn to those photos. At times, it appears as though the smile in the image subtly shifts, as if my grandmother is whispering secrets through her gaze. In those fleeting moments, the boundary between memory and reality blurs, akin to the delicate surface of a freshly developed Polaroid. Story 8. The soft patter of rain on the roof tiles wove a mesmerizing tune as I readied myself for the night ahead. Each droplet cascaded down the window panes, casting ethereal shadows that danced across the walls of my cozy study. The remnants of a long-extinguished fire still lingered in the air, a subtle reminder of warmth from the previous evening. The gentle glow of the desk lamp enveloped the room in a soothing embrace, creating a haven of tranquility. It was in this moment of serene stillness that a sound pierced the air, a sound that defied logic. The old rotary phone, long disconnected and relegated to a shelf, emitted a crystal-clear ring that echoed through the room. Setting aside the book I was engrossed in, I rose from the plush armchair, the plush rug absorbing the sound of my footsteps as I made my way to the mysterious ringing phone. An heirloom from my grandmother, the black phone gleamed faintly in the dim light, its presence both eerie and captivating. Just as I was about to touch it, the ringing ceased, leaving the phone cold to the touch, its aged bakelite surface evoking memories of bygone days spent watching my grandmother dial numbers with precision. Shaking off the unease creeping into my mind, I turned away, only for the phone to ring once more. This time, the sound was more insistent, demanding attention. With a mix of curiosity and trepidation, I watched as the receiver trembled slightly with each ring, catching the light in a hypnotic display. Counting each ring in a trance-like state, I found myself drawn to answer on the fifth. Lifting the receiver to my ear, a profound silence enveloped me, broken only by the steady rhythm of raindrops outside. The cold bakelite pressed against my skin, devoid of any familiar dial tone or electronic hum. Instead, there was an emptiness, a void that seemed to echo with a presence just beyond reach. And then a breath, an echo from a distant memory, steady and patient, as though waiting for me to speak. "Hello?" I ventured, my voice barely a whisper amidst the rain's gentle cadence. The breath on the other end paused, then transformed into a deep sigh, heavy with a melancholy that tugged at my heartstrings. Holding the receiver close, I listened to the breath that seemed to echo the rain's rhythm, a peaceful melancholy settling over me. Without fear, only a sense of nostalgia and serenity, I closed my eyes, allowing the sound to envelop me like a familiar lullaby. Time seemed to blur, the room shifting around me. The lamp's glow grew warmer, suffusing the air with the scent of lavender, my grandmother's favorite fragrance. Slowly, reluctantly, I returned the receiver to its cradle, the phone now exuding a comforting aura, as if it had delivered its silent message. Sinking back into the armchair, I gazed at the phone in the soft light, the rain outside continuing its melodic symphony. Since that enigmatic night, the phone has remained silent. Yet on rainy evenings, when the silence grows profound, a distant breath, a familiar sigh, seems to drift through the air, transcending time itself. And in those fleeting moments, a smile graces my lips, a silent acknowledgement that certain connections endure beyond the confines of wires and walls. Story 9. In the hush of autumn, the fog draped the streets in a soft gray embrace, veiling each streetlight in a halo of mystery under the night sky. After a long day's work, I found myself driving homeward, the road ahead blurred by the mist, when I caught sight of something peculiar. A pair of headlights lingering behind me, unchanging in their distance. It was a subtle sensation, like a whisper in the wind, nudging at the edges of my consciousness, hinting at the strangeness of that persistent presence trailing my every move. The engine's gentle hum from the unseen car behind me seemed to sync with the rhythm of my journey, a steady companion in the quiet of the night. It mimicked my speed effortlessly, a silent dance partner in this nocturnal waltz through the slumbering neighborhood. Through the veil of fog, the car remained a mere silhouette, its headlights akin to vigilant eyes, never faltering in their watch over me. Curiosity mingled with unease as I tested the waters, straying from my usual route to gauge the intentions of this mysterious pursuer. To my surprise, the car followed suit, maintaining that eerie proximity that now felt oddly familiar. The gentle patter of rain on my windshield added a soothing backdrop to the tension of the moment, the rivulets obscuring my view of the persistent follower. Round and round we went, navigating the labyrinthine streets, bound by an invisible thread that seemed to draw us together. The headlights, a constant presence in my rearview mirror, cast a spell of intrigue over the night, a silent companion in the serene neighborhood. A red light halted our nocturnal ballet briefly, affording me a fleeting glimpse through the rain-splattered glass. A figure, motionless as stone, sat behind the wheel of the shadowy car, a silent sentinel in the night. When I finally decided to make my way home, the car remained steadfast, a shadowy guardian in the darkness. As I parked and cut the engine, a tense quiet settled over the scene, broken only by the soft drumming of rain on the roof and the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Through the rearview mirror, I watched as the car lingered a few yards away, its headlights piercing the night like watchful eyes. Minutes stretched like eternity, until, with a silent grace, the headlights dimmed, plunging the street into darkness. Heart pounding, I stepped out into the rain, jacket pulled tight around me, only to find an empty street before me. The car that had trailed me so faithfully had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a lingering sense of wonder and unease. Since that fateful night, each drive after dark is tinged with a whisper of apprehension, a habitual glance in the rearview mirror revealing nothing but the empty expanse of road. Yet, on fog-laden nights, a flicker of doubt creeps in, as if those familiar headlights might reappear in the distance, patient and unyielding. I can't help but wonder if that elusive car still prowls the night, seeking another partner in its enigmatic dance, or if it waits, biding its time for a reunion in the shadows of the city streets. Story 10. In the depths of the night, a pendulum's rhythmic ticking stirred me from slumber. Its metronome-like beat cut through the stillness, a mechanical pulse guiding me through the shadows of an unknown realm. Slowly my eyes fluttered open, revealing a room draped in the soft haze of twilight. Everything was unfamiliar to me. I found myself reclined on a plush burgundy velvet sofa, its comforting touch worn by the hands of time. The air carried whispers of aged wood and dried flowers, mingled with a mysterious essence that eluded recognition. Light seeped through heavy brocade curtains, painting ethereal patterns on the faded Victorian wallpaper. As my vision adjusted to the dimness, I absorbed the room's intricate details. Dark antique furniture stood stoically in the corners, while a towering bookshelf held leather-bound tomes, their spines untouched for generations. A delicate porcelain teacup, still steaming, rested on a nearby table. With reluctance, I rose from the sofa, every muscle protesting as though I had been in slumber for eternity. My steps were muffled by the plush Persian rug as I approached the window, its heavy curtains parting to reveal a mist-shrouded garden. Trees and bushes swayed in the gentle breeze, their forms obscured by the veil of night. A startling realization dawned on me as I caught my reflection in the glass. I was clothed in garments of a bygone era. A linen shirt, a brocade vest, velvet trousers, all impeccably tailored yet belonging to a time long past. My fingers trembled as they grazed the unfamiliar fabric, tracing the intricate stitching with a sense of wonder. A flicker of movement at the edge of my vision drew my gaze inward, but the room remained still, save for the relentless pendulum, a keeper of time in this enigmatic place. Driven by a curious impulse, I ventured beyond the confines of the room. The door groaned open, revealing a dimly lit hallway adorned with portraits of unknown faces. Their eyes seemed to track my every move as I navigated the creaking floorboards. A staircase beckoned me upwards, the air growing colder with each ascending step. The banister, cool beneath my touch, carried a haunting familiarity. On the upper floor, a series of closed doors lined the hallway, their brass nameplates bearing inscriptions obscured by shadows. A distant melody, as delicate as a whisper, drifted through the air, piano notes that tugged at the strings of memory. The music seemed to emanate from the final room at the hallway's end, its ethereal strains drawing me closer with each step. Pushing open the door, I found myself in an empty chamber, save for a grand piano draped in a ghostly white sheet. The room resonated with the fading echoes of the mysterious melody, a haunting refrain that lingered in the air. With trepidation, I uncovered the piano, revealing an old, yellowed photograph resting on the ivory keys. In the sepia-toned image, I beheld a scene from a distant past, a figure seated at the piano, clad in the same antiquated attire I now wore. The realization sent a shiver down my spine, for the photograph seemed to bridge the chasm between past and present, intertwining our fates in a timeless dance. Descending the stairs, a strange calm settled over me, permeating the very essence of the house. The pendulum's steady cadence now seemed to synchronize with the rhythm of my heart. Returning to the velvet couch, I found the teacup still warm to the touch, its contents a familiar comfort. Gazing into the amber liquid, a realization dawned upon me. Perhaps I had never truly awoken, or perhaps I had stepped into a dream woven by another's hand long ago. The pendulum's ticking persisted, a metronome marking the passage of a time that may have never existed, within a house that seemed to hold the key to my deepest mysteries. With a sip of tea, I embraced the surreal beauty of this enigmatic place, where boundaries blurred and reality melded with dreams. As the fog enveloped the garden outside, I knew in my heart that this house, this timeless sanctuary, had been awaiting my arrival all along. And so I surrendered to its embrace, ready to unravel the enigma that bound me to its ancient walls. Story 11. The autumn mist embraced the park like a gentle shroud of silver as leaves twirled lazily in the moist twilight breeze. Strolling along the pebbled path, I relished the aroma of damp soil and savored the hushed rustle of my steps. The lampposts cast soft halos through the haze, barely illuminating the way ahead, and there amidst the ethereal mist I spied it, a dark coat, neatly folded on a weathered wooden bench. The park lay deserted at that hour, and the garment appeared meticulously placed, as if with deliberate intent. Drawing closer, I watched as the woolen fabric soaked in the misty droplets, exuding a lingering warmth as though recently shed. It was a refined coat, crafted with care, adorned with faintly gleaming mother-of-pearl buttons. While my fingers brushed the fabric, a slight chill of curiosity, not fear, crept over me. I delved into the pockets, hoping for a clue to the owner's identity, yet they yielded naught but a lone bus ticket from 1985. Time seemed suspended as I examined this artifact from yesteryears, its yellowed paper remarkably intact, as if shielded from the passage of time. Seating myself beside the coat, my mind meandered amidst the thickening fog. A subtle blend of lavender and pipe tobacco emanated from the coat, conjuring memories of bygone eras, of faded monochrome snapshots. Upon closer inspection, I discovered faintly embroidered initials, JM, almost lost in the golden thread. A distant melody broke the park's silence, an ancient tune, perhaps from a gramophone, drifting like a fragmented memory. Rising from the bench to trace its origin, the music seemed to waft from all directions and yet none in particular. Upon turning back, I noticed the coat had subtly shifted, its fold askew, a button catching the light differently. Despite my solitude in the park, its position had undeniably altered. Time trickled by at an eerie pace, the fog enveloping all in its tightening embrace. Shadows waltzed with the fallen leaves under the flickering streetlights, the music's cadence fading into the mist. Contemplating the enigma of JM, I pondered on their identity and the reason behind abandoning the coat on that bench. Was JM a scholarly figure seeking solace post-lectures, a musician drawing inspiration, or someone shedding a fragment of their past? Lost in reverie, a gentle touch grazed my shoulder, akin to a breeze's caress. Swiveling around, I encountered only swirling fog. The coat now bore an aged patina, as though time had accelerated solely for it, fading the fabric further. Choosing to leave the coat undisturbed, I departed, honoring the mystery of its presence. As I moved away, the music momentarily crescendoed, a waltz of unfamiliar yet oddly familiar notes. The following day, curiosity drew me back to the park, wondering if the coat remained. The bench stood bare, yet the dew-kissed wood retained the perfect imprint of its former resting place. Beside it lay a fresh bus ticket, dated for that very day. Even now, on mist-laden evenings passing by that bench, echoes of that distant melody linger, entwined with the fragrance of lavender and tobacco. Occasionally, as the lamplight plays with the fog, I glimpse the silhouette of a refined gentleman vanishing into the park. Yet upon closer inspection, only the shadows of leaves dancing in the evening breeze greet my gaze. Story 12. The fall breeze whispered through the branches, painting a serene melody that harmonized with the gentle hum of the surrounding crowd. Seated on my cherished bench in the park, I observed the steady stream of passers-by strolling along the paved paths. The air was sharp, carrying the fragrance of damp soil and rain-kissed wood. Though a book rested in my hands, my focus drifted to a subtle, nearly imperceptible feeling that had lingered with me for days. It began with a hint, a delicate touch on my neck one morning while en route to work, as if unseen eyes were fixed upon me. Glancing back, I found only the usual rush of commuters hastening toward their destinations. Yet in the days that followed, that sensation grew more pronounced, more palpable. During lunch breaks, while shopping for groceries, even amidst the comfort of my favorite cafe, people continued to flow past my bench, some solitary, some accompanied. A woman in a scarlet coat paused to check her phone. An elderly gentleman meandered with his polished wooden cane. Yet, amid the familiar faces, a subtle shift lingered in the air, something indefinable. I closed my book, rising to my feet with a resolve to wander. The sky blushed with amber hues as streetlights blinked to life one by one. I treaded along the main thoroughfare, the gravel beneath my footsteps whispering a soft cadence. The feeling persisted, an unseen presence trailing at a constant remove. Halting before a storefront, I feigned interest in the displayed wares. In the window's reflection, I discreetly studied the figures passing behind me. And there it was, a face amid the throng, a constant yet elusive presence. A phantom slipping between bodies, materializing and vanishing with fluid grace. Resuming my walk, a heightened vigilance now guided my steps. I veered onto side streets, then another, the crowd thinning yet the presence unwavering. Seating myself on a bench in a tranquil square, encircled by aged edifices with warm lamplit windows, the evening air turned brisk, the first stars winking into view. In that moment, a disquieting realization dawned upon me. It wasn't one gaze tracking me, but many. A multitude of eyes passing an unseen baton in a silent, choreographed ballet. Certain faces recurred more frequently. A woman in a cobalt scarf, a middle-aged man bespectacled, a youth with a backpack. Standing slowly, I embarked homeward, the weight of those unseen gazes heavy upon my shoulders. The streets now lay nearly deserted, yet the sensation only heightened in the hush of nightfall. Seated by my window in the apartment, peering down at the quiet street below, figures continued to drift by, some lingering briefly, others moving on. I pondered how many were truly bound for a destination, and how many were players in this enigmatic tableau of which I found myself unwittingly at the center. Most unsettling was their utter normalcy, blending seamlessly into the crowd. As the city lights flickered to life one by one, I contemplated the nature of this silent surveillance. Who were they? What drove their vigilant watch? And why me? Questions lingered in the air, suspended, as night unfurled its ebony cloak over the city. Since that moment, I've acclimated to this newfound awareness. At times I seek to discern my watchers, at others I feign ignorance. Yet they persist, like shadows flitting at the edges of my daily existence. In the silence of night, gazing from my window at the dimming streets, I wonder if they too think of me, concealed within their abodes, readying for another day of this cryptic dance of gazes and unseen presence. Story 13. The night held its breath, a symphony of whispers merging with the gentle pitter-patter of rain on the rooftop. Stirring from slumber in the dead of night, a common occurrence as of late, yet this time felt different. A mysterious object caught my eye on the nightstand, bathed in the ethereal glow of moonlight seeping through the curtains. An ancient brass key, adorned with intricate designs, lay there, seemingly out of place yet strangely familiar, as if it had always been a part of my existence. Plucking it up, the key's icy touch sent a shiver down my spine, its weight far heavier than expected, bearing the weathered sheen that only time can bestow. Examining it closely, I marveled at its unique design. Smooth edges devoid of modern teeth or antique grooves, instead embellished with floral motifs intertwined with cryptic symbols akin to a forgotten language. Compelled by an inexplicable urge to explore, I rose from the bed, guided by the key's faint, otherworldly azure aura. The house felt transformed under the veil of night, shadows reshaping familiar corners. Traversing through the rooms, the wooden floor creaked softly beneath my feet, carrying the scent of aged timber and ancient manuscripts on the breeze. At each doorway, I instinctively brought the key near, sensing a subtle vibration coursing through my fingertips as though it sought an unseen connection. It was within my study that a peculiar revelation dawned upon me. The antique bookcase, inherited from my grandfather, resonated with the key's presence. Drawing nearer, the key's luminance intensified, casting a mesmerizing dance of shadows from the books upon the walls, pulsating with an unseen heartbeat. Tracing the key along the bookcase's edge, a soft, almost imperceptible hum filled the air, akin to a melody from a long-forgotten instrument. The key's vibrations grew more pronounced, eliciting a responsive tremor from the bookcase's wood beneath my touch. Though no visible lock was present, the key seemed to have found its intended destination. Time seemed to stretch and warp, the atmosphere thick with an ancient aura. Shadows stirred, as if aware of my presence, the key's glow now pulsing in rhythmic cadence, unveiling hidden patterns within the bookcase's grain that had eluded my notice before. Driven by an inexplicable intuition, I pressed the key against the bookcase's central panel. Without a visible slot, a deep exhalation reverberated, the wood's surface rippling like disturbed waters. For an instant, ethereal images of faces and distant lands flickered across its polished sheen, remnants of a bygone era. Morning light eventually found me seated at my desk, the key clutched tightly in my hand. The dawn's rays dispelled the lingering shadows, yet the profound experience lingered within me. The bookcase stood stoically, its secrets veiled once more. In the days that followed, the key lost its mystical glow, but retained its enigmatic weight. On quiet nights, a faint reverberation seemed to emanate from the bookcase, beckoning to the key, a silent siren's call. Yet I refrained from further exploration. Some doors, I've come to understand, are best left unopened, even when possessing the means to unlock them. The key now rests within a velvet-lined drawer of my writing desk, a silent sentinel. In moments of profound stillness, its siren song whispers to me, prompting contemplation of whether it found me rather than the reverse, and what untold mysteries lie within a key without a lock. Story 14. Night had draped the ancient countryside home in a cloak of profound serenity. Nestled in my cherished armchair beside the hearth, I observed the shadows waltz on the walls while the flames leisurely devoured the logs. The cozy warmth enveloped me like a quilt, as outside, the autumn breeze tenderly brushed the tree leaves. It was in that moment of utter tranquility that a peculiar sound caught my attention. A crystalline, childlike giggle drifting from the upper floor of the house. A laugh as delicate as silver bells. Pausing to listen, I allowed the sound to intertwine with the crackling of the fire. There was no hint of menace in it. On the contrary, it was a joyful laugh, almost melodic. However, having lived alone in this house for over 2 decades, I had never entertained children. Curiosity began to trickle through me like a gentle stream, gradually displacing the drowsiness that had nearly overtaken me. With deliberate movements, I rose from the armchair, relishing the sensation as my feet met the weathered Persian rug. The floorboards murmured softly beneath me as I made my way towards the staircase. The flickering candlelight in the living room cast a warm and inviting glow, casting my shadow upon the walls in a silent dance. Ascending the stairs, I noticed the air growing cooler with each step. It wasn't a harsh chill, but rather a caress on the skin, akin to the breeze near the ocean. The laughter echoed once more, this time nearer, emanating from the guest room. A room seldom used, adorned with antique furniture draped in white linens that gently swayed, stirred by an unseen draft. The door to the room stood slightly ajar, allowing a silvery light to seep through, unlike any other illumination in the house. Not moonlight, too warm for that, nor electric lamps. It was distinct, pulsating softly, like a tranquil heartbeat. Pushing the door open, the ancient wood hummed a familiar tune. The room unfolded before me, bathed in that peculiar luminescence. The draped furniture formed gentle, reassuring shapes, resembling clouds in a clear sky. And there, perched on the windowsill, I beheld something that stole my breath. Not a solid figure, but a dance of light and shadow that mimicked a child. The laughter rang out once more, clearly originating from that radiant presence. No fear gripped me, only a profound sense of awe. The light child seemed to toy with the beams it emitted, crafting luminous patterns on the walls as if painting with light itself. I approached cautiously, and with each step, the room's temperature oscillated between cool and warm, like waves lapping the shore. Drawing near, I discerned a familiarity in the figure. In its fluid movements, I recognized echoes of my childhood gestures when I played alone in my room. The revelation washed over me with the sweetness of a forgotten memory. That laughter, so pure and crystalline, belonged to my childhood self. Time seemed to elongate as I observed that surreal spectacle. The light child continued its wordless play, occasionally interrupted by that melodious laugh, now echoing like a reverberation from the past. I refrained from speaking or engaging, fearing to shatter the tranquility and nostalgia. Gradually, the silvery light began to wane, akin to the sun setting on a winter eve. The child's form grew increasingly ethereal, until only a faint glow remained. The final laughter I heard was but a whisper, a tender farewell before dissolving into darkness entirely. I lingered in the room for what felt like an eternity, enveloped in a serene hush. The draped furniture lay still, the air reverted to its usual temperature, yet something had shifted. The guest room, once a repository for dusty recollections, now held a precious enigma. Retreating to my armchair by the hearth, where the fire smoldered gently, I settled among the cushions. A realization dawned upon me that I would never truly decipher the events of that night. Was it a dream, a memory, or perchance something deeper, a message from the past manifesting through a child's laughter in the shadows? Since that night, whenever I passed by the guest room, I paused to listen. Sometimes on the stillest nights, I catch a faint echo of that crystalline laughter, akin to a tender lullaby guiding me towards slumber. And with a smile, I allow the mystery to endure, a sweet secret shared between myself and the child who laughs in the darkness. Story 15. Time seemed frozen on that autumn evening, the rain whispering a gentle lullaby on the rooftop of the ancestral home. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the soft glow from the floor lamp passed down by my grandfather. This lamp, adorned with a stained glass lampshade, painted whimsical patterns on the walls with its light. But that night, amidst the dancing shadows, a peculiar allure captured my gaze like never before. The silhouettes swaying on the walls seemed to pirouette with an ethereal essence, crafting intricate designs I had never before beheld. Initially, I brushed it off as a trick of wariness, a mirage spun by the day's fatigue. Yet, the longer I fixated on those shadows, the more apparent it became that they defied the rules of reality. When a breeze nudged the lampshade, the shadows refused to mimic its movements. Instead, they waltzed to an enigmatic rhythm of their own making. Intrigued, I rose from my seat and approached the lamp, drawn by its enigmatic aura. The stained glass exuded a peculiar warmth, pulsing gently as if guarding a clandestine tale within its geometric patterns. Tracing my fingers delicately over the glass's surface, I discerned minute imperfections in the artisanal craft. And then, a revelation struck me. Etched into the lamp's metal base was a symbol, faint yet radiant in the soft light. As the shadows continued their silent ballet, distinct shapes emerged before my eyes, graceful human forms, swaying trees, and elusive entities materializing and dissolving like fleeting reveries. The lamp seemed to weave memories instead of mere shadows, narrating tales of days long past through the silent dialect of light and darkness. Enthralled, I sank to the floor, captivated by the surreal exhibition unfolding before me. The shadows appeared responsive to my presence, drawing closer as I leaned in and receding as I pulled away. Occasionally, a distant melody, a harmonious whisper, accompanied their mysterious choreography. It was a sensation that embraced me tenderly, evoking not fear but a tranquil marvel. As the night deepened, the projected images grew more elaborate, blending everyday vignettes with fantastical interludes. A child's play morphed into a soaring bird, a seamstress's handwork transformed into a fluttering butterfly. It was as though the lamp sought to converse through the dialect of light and shadow, narrating stories that straddled the realms of reality and reverie. And then, a revelation unfolded. Certain shadows mirrored scenes from my childhood, evoking forgotten moments that the lamp coaxed back to life on the room's walls. I witnessed myself as a child, frolicking in the backyard of this very abode, my grandfather unveiling the lamp's magic for the first time, and a cascade of memories resurfacing from the depths of my consciousness. Outside, the rain persisted, a melodic backdrop to this intimate and enigmatic spectacle. The droplets tapping against the window pane seemed to harmonize with the shadows' dance, as though all were part of a unified silent performance. Time ceased to hold sway, and I drifted into a realm of tranquil contemplation. Gradually, the figures slowed, their movements languid like dancers at the close of a grand performance. The shadows softened, blurred, yet retained their allure, as if the lamp murmured the closing verses of a bedtime tale, preparing to resume its guise as a mere furnishing. When I finally rose from the floor, the rain had ceased, enveloping the room in a serene hush. The shadows reverted to mere projections of the lamp, but a transformation had transpired. Gazing at the ancient heirloom, I realized I would never perceive it in the same light. How many more stories lay nestled within that lamp, waiting to be unveiled on tranquil evenings like this one? Drifting onto the couch, I surrendered to the lamp's gentle radiance, allowing it to guide me into slumber. In my waning moments of wakefulness, a final shadow pirouetted on the wall, the likeness of my grandfather, his smile a silent assurance that some mysteries are meant to be appreciated, not unraveled. Story 16. The night held a gentle breath as the wind whispered secrets through the old house. Nestled in my cozy armchair, I tuned in to the ancient rhythms of the creaking wooden frames, each sound a chapter in the house's silent tale. Amid the tranquility, a steady beat drifted down from the upstairs hallway, a mysterious pulse that beckoned me to unravel its enigmatic melody. The soft glow of the reading lamp painted elusive shadows on the walls, bringing to life figures that danced in the flickering light. Entranced, I set aside my book and let the hypnotic throb guide me towards the source of the sound. With each step on the weathered stairs, the house seemed to sigh in response, as if acknowledging my curiosity. Ascending into the cool embrace of the upper floor, I followed the rhythmic beat that led me to the library door. Closed yet alive with movement, the brass knocker tapped out a cryptic message against the sturdy wood, its metallic voice echoing through the silent night. No breeze stirred the air, no hand guided the knocker, yet it persisted in its delicate dance. Drawn closer by the enchanting rhythm, I reached out to touch the cold metal handle, feeling the weight of generations past in its smooth surface. The door yielded not to my gentle push, as if an unseen force held it shut, guarding the mysteries within. Mesmerized, I sank to the floor, letting the beat weave its spell around me, a tale without words that spoke to my soul. Lost in the timeless cadence, I drifted through realms of forgotten knowledge and whispered legends. The sound merged with my very being, a thread in the intricate tapestry of the night. As dawn's soft light filtered through the windows, the knocker fell silent, frozen in a moment of suspended time. With limbs heavy from the night's embrace, I rose to find the door yielding effortlessly to my touch, granting me entry into the silent sanctuary of the library. Everything stood as I had left it, save for one detail, a pristine book resting on the antique desk, its pages blank and waiting, as if daring me to inscribe the untold stories of the night. Since that enchanted night, the knocker has remained still, yet on hushed evenings, a faint echo of its rhythm lingers in the air, a haunting reminder of the mysteries that dwell within the walls, waiting to be unraveled by a curious soul. Story 17. The November breeze gently danced with the dry leaves on the driveway as I gazed at the shadowy outline of the forsaken mansion silhouetted against the dreary sky. Known as the never-inhabited house, though history whispered otherwise, it had been a home to someone long forgotten. A mysterious air enveloped the place as I neared the weathered gate, its iron bars chilling under my touch. The scent of moss and damp stone lingered in the air, adding to the eerie charm of the overgrown garden where brambles and nettles intertwined along the cracked walls. As a real estate agent tasked with evaluating the property, I ventured further into the neglected estate. The current owner, an elderly gentleman residing overseas, had decided to part ways with the mansion he had never set foot in. Inherited from a distant relative, the house now stood as a relic of the past, clinging to its melancholic elegance amidst the encroaching decay. Amidst the tangled vegetation, I noticed faint paths, hinting at recent activity within the secluded grounds. Curious and cautious, I followed these enigmatic trails, wondering who could have traversed them. The neighbors had assured me that no one dared to trespass on the property. With a soft creak, the front door yielded to my touch, revealing a world veiled in a bluish twilight that seeped through the closed shutters. Inside, the air hung heavy with dust and the lingering aroma of aged wood. Each step I took echoed through the deserted rooms, where furniture draped in yellowed sheets cast ghostly silhouettes in the dimness. The grand mirrors on the walls played tricks with the light, distorting and shifting the reflections within their cloudy depths. Ascending the staircase, my hand grasping the polished wooden rail, I explored the upper floor, where a series of closed doors stood sentinel in the corridor. Room by room, I captured the empty interiors with my camera, documenting the forgotten remnants of a bygone era. It was in the final chamber that a sense of unease crept over me. The bedroom, likely once belonging to a woman, bore signs of recent disturbance amidst the layers of dust. A silver brush lay beside dark, freshly shed hair, untouched by time. The bed, meticulously made, held a subtle impression as if someone had sat upon it moments before. A fleeting movement in the mirror startled me, a phantom image of a woman seated on the bed, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Hurriedly descending the stairs, I felt a presence lingering in the empty rooms, a faint echo of a melancholic melody drifting through the stillness. As I reached for the door, a soft hum brushed against my senses, barely audible yet haunting in its essence. Was it the wind whispering through the shutters or a figment of my imagination? Leaving the mansion behind, the garden now hushed and tranquil, I cast one final glance back, catching a glimpse of a pale glow flickering behind an upstairs window before it vanished into the shadows. In the days that followed, I meticulously crafted my report on the property, detailing its condition and potential, omitting the eerie occurrences within its walls. The house lingered on the market, a beacon of mystery and solitude. Each time I passed by, a spectral figure seemed to flit between the rooms above, a silent sentinel awaiting an unknown visitor. Perhaps the secret of the never-inhabited house lay not in its vacancy, but in the enduring presence of a soul unwilling to depart, forever bound to its fated grandeur. Story 18. Winter nights always cast a peculiar spell on me, especially when the mist blankets the world in a hushed embrace. In my cozy study, wrapped in a woolen blanket, I watched as the fog painted everything outside my window in a shimmering silver hue. The light from my desk lamp bathed the room in a soft, inviting glow, casting playful shadows on the book-filled walls. Amidst this tranquil scene, a peculiar sight caught my eye in the glass reflection. A small, dark wooden box with intricate carvings that seemed to shift with every glance. Though unfamiliar, a strange sense of recognition tugged at my mind. It sat perched on the edge of my desk, as if it belonged there all along. The wood of the box appeared to pulse faintly in the dim light, as if whispering a tale of its own. Intrigued, I rose from my chair, the blanket slipping to the floor with a gentle rustle as I moved closer. The scent of aged wood and beeswax wafted towards me, evoking memories long forgotten. My fingertips grazed the warm surface of the box, tracing the ever-changing patterns that seemed to weave a story of a moonlit forest, a stormy sea, and a starlit sky in a single breath. Seated once more, bathed in the warm light of the lamp, I studied the enigmatic object before me. A realization dawned upon me. This box had been a recurring visitor in my dreams, shifting its form but retaining its air of mystery. The room seemed to hold its breath, the only sound the soft tick-tock of the grandfather clock, as if time itself were caught in a trance. Picking up the box, I felt its unexpected weight, a mystery within a mystery. No visible lock adorned its surface, yet a sense of importance emanated from within. As my gaze lingered on the converging carvings, a new pattern emerged, drawing me in with a subtle vibration under my touch. The fragrance of beeswax blended with an ancient, unfamiliar scent, heightening the intrigue. A soft hum resonated from within the box, a melody of forgotten dreams lulling me into a peaceful drowsiness. The light of the lamp pulsed gently, in harmony with the hypnotic tune. Hours later, I awoke at my desk. The fog outside dissipated, revealing a star-studded night sky. The box had vanished, leaving behind a ghostly imprint on the wooden surface, as if it had been there for an eternity. A faint carving on the back of my hand, reminiscent of the box's patterns, glowed dimly in the room. Each morning, the carving appeared altered, as if crafting a message only time could decipher. In my dreams, the box now beckons with a purpose, guiding me towards an unknown revelation. I ponder if others share this mysterious connection, bearing invisible marks of a world that unfolds in the realm of dreams. The line between dream and reality blurs, the box serving as a mystical gateway between two worlds intertwined. The scent of beeswax lingers in the air, a silent promise of new secrets awaiting in the land of dreams. And as I pen these words, I sense the box's call, knowing that tonight, in the realm of slumber, it awaits with whispers of untold mysteries yet to be unveiled. Story 19. The hotel corridor glowed in a soft amber light, filtering through honey-hued glass lampshades, casting a warm embrace over the space. It was the late hour of the night, and the only sound to break the silence was the gentle hum of air conditioners. Dragging my suitcase with silent wheels along the rich burgundy carpet, I made my way towards the elevator, feeling the weight of travel weariness settling on my shoulders after a long day of business meetings. As I reached the elevator, I pressed the button and watched my blurred reflection in the metallic doors. The digital numbers above the elevator ticked slowly. 6, 5, 4. A soothing green light from the display danced on the walls, creating a serene ambience. The doors glided open with a soft chime, revealing a small mirrored space adorned with dark wood. I selected the 7th floor, the pinnacle of the building, and leaned against the back wall, closing my eyes briefly. The elevator ascended smoothly, its motion steady and almost imperceptible, akin to a deep, constant breath. When I reopened my eyes, a peculiar sight greeted me in the mirror's reflection. It seemed as though my image lagged slightly behind my movements, a surreal experience that I attributed to exhaustion. The elevator came to a gentle stop, and the doors parted, leading me into a hallway that felt subtly different. The carpet beneath my feet had transformed from burgundy to a deep green, while the wall lamps exuded an antique charm with their Art Deco design. The atmosphere was unfamiliar, carrying hints of an era long past, with a scent reminiscent of old books and ancient wood. The room doors bore unconventional labels, 7A, 7B, 7C, deviating from the standard numerical order. Turning back towards the elevator, I found the doors shut, and my attempts to call it back were met with silence. The air grew thick with an almost tangible stillness as I ventured down the elongated, narrow hallway, each door exuding a unique aura, hinting at untold stories behind their dark wood facades. At the far end, a figure sat in an antique armchair, resembling an elderly doorman in a period uniform, his white hair impeccably styled. He looked up from his book with a kind smile and inquired, "Are you lost?" Admitting my confusion, I mentioned my intended destination to the 7th floor, only to be met with a cryptic response. "Oh, this is the 7th floor," he remarked enigmatically, hinting at a different perspective. The surroundings revealed subtle details, black and white photographs in golden frames, a clock ticking backwards, and an otherworldly ambience. Seated beside the doorman, the wariness that burdened me began to dissipate, enveloped in a soothing silence that felt like a familiar embrace. The ticking of the peculiar clock intertwined with the shadows dancing on the walls, crafting a hypnotic melody that lulled my senses. Time seemed to lose its meaning in that tranquil space, where minutes blurred into hours. Sensing the return of the elevator, the doorman indicated my departure with a simple gesture, and as I rose to leave, the armchair stood empty, the book resting on its armrest. With a newfound sense of peace, I entered the elevator, embarking on a swift journey back to the familiar hallway of burgundy carpet and modern lamps. Unlocking my room door, I glanced back at the elevator, witnessing a brief flicker of an unfamiliar symbol on the digital display before it settled back to 7. Since that mysterious night, every elevator ride in a hotel carries a whisper of uncertainty, a question of destination versus destiny. And on those hushed nights, a faint rustle of pages echoes in my mind, a reminder of a hallway existing between floors, where time flows in enigmatic rhythms, and the unseen hands of fate gently guide weary travelers towards their destined paths. Story 20. Autumn nights weave a tapestry of enchantment in our cozy neighborhood. The crisp air carries whispers of fallen leaves and the hushed cadence of footsteps on dampened streets. Lately, on my evening strolls home from work, a peculiar occurrence has captured my attention. There's a streetlight at the junction of Maple Street and Rose Avenue that behaves unlike its companions. While other lights cast a steady, warm glow on the path, this one harbors a secret. As I draw near, its luminance softly wanes, as though veiling a hidden truth from my eyes. Initially, I dismissed it as a mere malfunction, a neglected relic in need of repair. But a pattern emerged. The light dimmed solely in my presence, a phenomenon unnoticed by passers-by. One twilight, curiosity spurred me to linger about 60 feet away, leaning against the weathered facade of an Art Deco building. The streetlight stood resolute, casting elongated shadows and causing dew-kissed grass to shimmer in a nearby garden. With each step closer, the light flickered hesitantly, as if exhaling slowly. At 15 feet's distance, it dwindled to a faint glimmer, barely outlining the world around me. Standing beneath its muted halo, a profound stillness enveloped me, as if even the city's bustling whispers retreated in reverence. Peering up at the glass enclosure, I discerned peculiar markings etched upon its surface, shrouded in the dimness. Straining to decipher the cryptic symbols, a sudden gust stirred the trees, prompting a disconcerting sensation that something stirred within the streetlight's casing. Subsequently, I altered my route to intersect beneath its watchful glow each night. The ritual repeated, the light dimming, the silence thickening, the sensation of unseen eyes from above. Closer observation unveiled subtle shifts in hue, almost as if the light communicated through spectral fluctuations. One moonlit eve, ensconced within the twilight circle, a melodic hum resonated from within the pole, cascading in rhythmic undulations. Placing my palm on the chilled metal, I sensed vibrations, as though the streetlight sought to impart a message. I meticulously chronicled each encounter, noting that the dimming intensity waxed and waned with lunar phases. During the new moon, the light nearly extinguished upon my passage, while on full moon nights it retained a steadfast glow. Moreover, the light invariably regained its full brilliance after 23 seconds, a mysterious rhythm unfathomable in its consistency. Curiously, the streetlight's behavior molded my own, compelling me to slow my pace, engaged in an unspoken communion. At times, I stood motionless beneath its softened radiance, captivated by the murmuring hum that seemed to recount tales of yore. I refrained from seeking a rational explanation for this mystifying occurrence, content in the allure of the unknown. In this corner of the city, a clandestine enigma chose to unveil itself solely to me. Each evening as I tread homeward, the streetlight awaits, conjuring that ephemeral twilight that marks our silent rendezvous. Night after night, I partake in this peculiar waltz with the light that dims at my approach. Is it an electrical anomaly, a cosmic anomaly, or something more profound? Uncertainty lingers, yet in that fleeting darkness, when the world retreats and shadows reign, I sense a connection to a greater tapestry, a mystery unfolding through the dialect of light and shade. Story 21. The night draped itself in a hushed stillness, enveloped in a shroud of mist that turned the street lamps into faint, twinkling specks of light. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I idly observed the shadows pirouette across the walls of my study, their graceful movements brought to life by the flickering flame of a solitary candle on a nearby table. The aged wooden floor exuded that familiar, musty aroma, a testament to the history of the house, while the tranquility was punctuated by the gentle rhythm of the pendulum clock. In a moment of quiet contemplation, a peculiar anomaly caught my eye. Amidst the familiar shadows that waltzed on the wall, there was one that seemed to march to a different beat. While the others swayed in harmony with the dance of the flame, this particular shadow moved with an air of independence, as if it sought to explore the wall's surface. Initially, I dismissed it as a trick of my fatigued mind. The late nights of work had a habit of playing tricks on my weary eyes. Setting aside the book in my lap, I rose to investigate the enigma more closely. The shadow, sensing my scrutiny, timidly withdrew into the room's dim recesses. Drawing nearer, I scrutinized the wall, its textured surface casting a myriad of shadows, yet the one that intrigued me stood out. It possessed a density, a distinctness that hinted at substance rather than mere absence of light. Upon reaching out to touch the wall where the shadow had halted, I was met with an icy chill, starkly different from the wall's usual warmth. In the days that followed, I observed more peculiarities. The shadow materialized at various times, always in solitude, always in the dim light that allowed shadows to exist without engulfing them entirely. Sometimes it lingered in the hallway, other times in the kitchen, each encounter marked by its curious and almost bashful demeanor. On an evening spent at my desk, engrossed in writing, a sensation of presence crept over me, not unsettling like being watched, but akin to the silent scrutiny of a cat. Slowly turning, I beheld the shadow projected upon the closed door of my study. This time it held its ground, as if studying me in return. It was then that I noticed a detail that had previously eluded me. The shadow lacked a source. Every familiar shadow is cast by something, a tangible object, a person, an animal, yet this one existed in isolation, independent, as if a being unto itself. I began a silent dialogue with it, communicating through gestures and movements. In response, it danced on the wall, shaping forms that almost resembled letters, fleeting messages that dissolved before comprehension could grasp them. At times, a semblance of meaning teased my senses, while at others, they dissolved into mere whimsical patterns. As time unfurled, its presence became a welcomed companion, a nocturnal guardian in the quiet hours. On restless nights, I sought it out, anticipating its distinctive movements amidst the ordinary shadows. It felt as though I had a silent confidant, a sentinel of the nighttime realm. The origin and nature of the shadow remained a mystery. Despite delving into research, consulting ancient tomes, and seeking insights from experts in the realm of the supernatural, no definitive answer emerged. Theories ranged from physical anomalies to manifestations of residual energy, yet none encapsulated the essence of its inexplicable existence. Now, seated in my armchair, penning these words, I observe the shadow's gentle sway in my periphery. It has woven itself into the tapestry of my daily life, a riddle I've learned to embrace without completely unraveling. I often ponder if it, too, contemplates my essence, viewing me as much a puzzle as I do it. The candle on the table flickers, its flame nearing its end, heralding the shadow's imminent retreat into the enveloping darkness, awaiting a new light to grant it presence once more. And I shall remain here, awaiting its return, engaged in this silent discourse between a man and a formless shadow. Story 22. In the realm of my awakening, I am enveloped by a weighty sensation that cloaks me in a leaden embrace. The room is aglow with a soft, pearlescent light that emanates from no discernible source. The walls possess an elusive hue, shifting shades each time I divert my gaze. The ceiling soars to heights beyond the norm for a humble bedroom, vanishing into a velvety darkness reminiscent of a starless night sky. Nestled upon a bed of plush softness, the silk sheets whisper against my skin with a mesmerizing rustle as I stir. An elusive fragrance lingers in the air, sweet and redolent of familiarity, evoking hints of lavender or perhaps vanilla, yet ever morphing when I seek to grasp its essence. Time meanders capriciously within these walls. Shadows waltz to an enigmatic cadence, elongating and retracting as if animated by a life force of their own, casting a slow, hypnotic ballet upon the room's surfaces. The silence, though profound, is never absolute. A subtle backdrop of sound lingers, akin to the distant sigh of a slumbering soul, or perchance the echo of my own heartbeat resonating through the vacant expanse. Rising from the bed, my bare feet sink into a carpet so luxuriously thick that each step feels akin to treading upon clouds. The room is sparsely adorned, a weathered dark wood desk, a sumptuous burgundy velvet armchair, and an oval mirror swathed in a golden frame. The mirror, enshrouded in a perpetual mist, akin to steam from a recent shower, yet no bathroom lies within view. Drawn to the desk, an ever-changing array of items awaits. Today, a time-worn leather-bound diary, a fountain pen brimming with midnight blue ink, and a steaming cup of tea exuding a gentle vapor. The tea remains warm, though I possess no recollection of its preparation. The diary's pages lie blank, yet beneath my touch, phantom words seem to imprint upon the paper, as though inscribed in invisible ink. The armchair beckons, and I acquiesce, sinking into its inviting velvet warmth, redolent of a recent occupant. Seated, I discern an anomaly within the wall before me, a subtle pulsing, akin to the rhythmic breath of a slumbering form. Intrigued, I approach for a closer inspection, yet the wall solidifies, devoid of movement. My quest for an exit persists, as it always does. I know a door must exist, concealed within the chamber's confines. My hands trail along the walls, tracing every minute irregularity, every faint crevice. At times, the illusion of a handle materializes, only to dissipate like morning mist upon my grasp. The mist-shrouded mirror captures my gaze. Through the haze, my reflection appears, yet an uncanny peculiarity taints the image. Movements seem delayed, as if my mirrored self hesitates before mimicking my actions. Occasionally, amidst fleeting moments of clarity, an unfamiliar visage seems to peer back at me through the glass. Time ebbs erratically. Light fluctuates in intensity, following a rhythm divorced from the constraints of day and night. Moments spent perusing the diary while seated in the armchair stretch into what feels like mere minutes, only to realize the room's shadows have shifted, as if hours have slipped by. Reclining once more upon the bed, I gaze upward at the seemingly boundless expanse of the ceiling. The sheets envelop me tenderly, as if imbued with a life force of their own, cradling me in a comforting embrace. The tantalizing fragrance in the air intensifies, evoking memories of my grandmother's perfume, freshly baked cookies, or the scent of rain upon a summer meadow. Eyes flutter closed, knowing that upon reopening, the cycle will commence anew. The room detains me within this liminal state, suspended betwixt dream and reality, where time folds upon itself akin to a Mobius strip. Uncertainty clouds my mind. Am I dreaming the room, or is the room dreaming me? Drifting once more into slumber, a fragment of my consciousness ponders the existence of an escape, or whether perhaps, deep down, I harbor no desire to find it. The room has melded with my essence, or perchance I have forever been entwined with its fabric, in an eternal dance of waking and dreaming, where the boundaries betwixt reality and fancy blur like hues upon a freshly painted canvas. Story 23. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my study, weaving a soothing melody with the crackling of the fireplace. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I gazed absently at the new addition on the wall, an aged painting portraying an autumn scene. Discovered in a quaint antique shop, its rich hues and enigmatic aura drew me in. The gilded frame, weathered by time, shimmered in the dancing firelight, casting playful reflections around the room. On that stormy evening, as the tempest outside grew in intensity, a peculiar sight captured my attention within the painting. The painted leaves seemed to stir as if brushed by an unseen breeze. Initially, I dismissed it as a trick of light from the fire's glow, but upon closer inspection, I discerned a subtle shift. The colors appeared more vibrant. The path winding through the canvas seemed to extend beyond its boundaries. Rising slowly from my seat, I approached the painting. A coolness enveloped the air around it, a stark contrast to the warmth of the fire. Running my fingers over the canvas, I felt an unusual smoothness, almost like silk beneath my touch. An earthy fragrance of damp leaves wafted from the frame, so real it blurred the line between art and reality. As I pondered these strange details, movement in the upper corner of the painting seized my gaze. Among the branches of an ancient tree, something stirred. It wasn't a mere play of light and shadow, but a deliberate motion, as though a hidden presence lurked among the painted foliage. My heart fluttered with curiosity rather than fear. Stepping back, I observed the brushstrokes altering direction, shaping new forms in the landscape. The trees swayed gently, as if moved by an invisible force. In the distance, a faint outline of a small structure emerged from the fog. The rain's patter outside transformed into a whisper, harmonizing with the painting's fluid dance. Settling back into the armchair, I became fully immersed in the unfolding spectacle. The room expanded, the painting seemingly breaching the confines of its frame into reality. Throughout the night, the painting metamorphosed gradually. Autumnal hues intensified and waned in a mesmerizing cycle, unveiling shades unseen before. The distant stone house grew clearer, its chimney releasing wisps of smoke, windows aglow with a golden light. I pondered if inhabitants dwelled within that painted abode, if they could peer back at me, a mere observer through that enchanted window disguised as art. Surprisingly, the notion brought peace instead of unease. It felt as though I had stumbled upon a hidden passage where reality and fantasy intertwined serenely. Hours passed, the painting divulging its mysteries patiently. Figures strolled along the path at times, their forms ephemeral, blending into the forest shadows. Each attempt to focus on these apparitions led to their gentle dissolution, akin to fading dream memories upon waking. With dawn painting the sky pink, the painting gradually reverted to its original state. The leaves stilled, colors settled, and the distant house vanished into the morning mist. Only the lingering scent of wet leaves remained, a solitary reminder of the nocturnal revelations. Since that night, I sit by the painting each evening, awaiting patiently. It unveils its secrets sporadically, sometimes remaining silent like any ordinary artwork. Yet, I am aware that behind that canvas lies a realm that awakens only when the world slumbers, a realm accessible only to those who possess the patience to observe intently. Story 24. As the winter twilight cast a serene purple glow across the walls of my bedroom, a gentle rain tapped against the windows in a soothing, hypnotic rhythm. The flickering candle on my antique vanity, a cherished heirloom from my grandmother, cast dancing shadows that swirled in a mesmerizing display on the mirror's surface. The mingling scents of warm wax and crackling firewood wafted through the room, enveloping me in a cocoon of comfort and tranquility. During this tranquil moment of introspection, a peculiar sight caught my eye. While adjusting my hair before the mirror, a fleeting glimpse of a tall, slender figure seemed to glide silently behind me, like a ghostly apparition moving effortlessly through the air. Startled, I turned around swiftly, only to find the room empty and still. Returning my gaze to the mirror, I dismissed the sighting as a mere trick of light and shadow, a figment of my imagination. In the days that followed, I found myself drawn to the reflections surrounding me, whether it was the gleaming surface of a freshly polished wooden table, the evening light playing on the window pane, or even the small rearview mirror in my car. Each reflection seemed to capture a fleeting image of that enigmatic presence. It was as though a parallel world of reflections existed, where this silent figure observed me with a patient and gentle curiosity. The figure itself was formless, its essence a soft, silvery luminescence that seemed to emit a comforting glow. At times I fancied I could discern a faint smile or the hint of a gesture, as if it sought to communicate with me. Rather than instilling fear, its presence evoked a sense of familiarity, as if it had always been a silent companion in the backdrop of my life, only now revealing itself to my conscious awareness. One tranquil evening, as I sat engrossed in a book in my favorite armchair, the figure in the window's reflection appeared more defined than ever before. Instead of vanishing upon direct scrutiny, it lingered, a tangible presence in the glass. A whisper of movement, like silk rustling in a breeze, brushed against my senses, though the room remained still and quiet. Intrigued, I rose from my seat and approached the window, and to my astonishment, the figure mirrored my actions from the other side. For the first time, I observed details. Its attire flowed like liquid moonlight, and its movements held a grace that seemed to defy earthly bounds, as if dancing on unseen currents. With a gentle gesture, it reached out towards me, and almost instinctively, I reciprocated. In that fleeting instant, a profound realization washed over me. Each appearance of the figure brought with it a profound peace that enveloped the room. Sounds hushed to a murmur, colors softened to pastel hues, and time itself seemed to stretch and slow in the figure's presence. It was as if a fragment of a tranquil world accompanied it, blurring the lines between reality and reverie. Delving deeper, I actively sought out reflections, not out of trepidation or intrigue, but to bask once more in the serenity that the figure bestowed. I discovered that it materialized most often in moments of stillness, when my mind was unburdened by worry or restlessness. It was as though it possessed an innate understanding of when I needed its calming influence. Over time, the figure in the reflections became a silent companion, a beacon of peace in the ebb and flow of my days. I made no attempt to unravel its true nature or the purpose behind its ethereal visits. Some enigmas, I reasoned, are best left unexplored. For in the realm of mysteries, the unanswered questions often hold a beauty and allure that transcend any rational explanation. Even now, as the sun sets and shadows lengthen across the room, I pause to observe the reflections that dance around me. In those moments of quiet intimacy, when the world seems to hold its breath, I catch a glimpse of it, a radiant figure gliding among the mirrored surfaces, imparting a profound tranquility and a gentle reminder that some mysteries are meant to be embraced, not unraveled. Story 25. The doorbell remained silent on that autumn afternoon. Instead, a gentle tap echoed through the house, like a whisper brushing against the door. A delicate sound, akin to a moth's wings fluttering against a window pane. Nestled on the couch with a book in hand, I felt the warmth of a cozy blanket envelop me, while the rain outside played a soothing tune on the window, creating a tranquil symphony. Rising from my spot with a sense of calm, I assumed it was just the wind nudging something outside. Opening the door revealed emptiness, save for a square, brown package resting on the threshold, devoid of labels or addresses. My name, elegantly penned in ancient calligraphy, stood out on its smooth surface, as though written with ink from a bygone era. The cardboard, dry to the touch despite the rain, held a modest weight as I carried it inside. The silence deepened, broken only by the rhythmic ticking of a clock and the soft patter of rain outside. Back on the couch, I examined the package closely, finding no signs of tape or openings, its edges flawlessly folded as if crafted by a master of origami. An elusive fragrance wafted from within, a blend of old books, black tea, and hints of sandalwood, evoking a sense of familiarity mingled with mystery. Cradling it in my lap, a subtle movement seemed to stir inside, like a delicate dance of unseen whispers. Not quite solid, yet not liquid, but something ethereal, as if the very air within the box was alive with a silent waltz. As daylight waned, casting shadows that danced around the room, I refrained from switching on any lamps, preferring the natural twilight that enveloped everything in a gentle embrace. The package seemed to absorb the fading light in a peculiar manner, as if its surface held secrets of reflection. Minutes turned into contemplative moments as I pondered how to unlock its mysteries. Tracing my fingers along the edges, I discovered warm spots that pulsed with an inexplicable rhythm, hinting at a hidden energy within. A distant memory stirred in my mind, hazy and almost dreamlike, recalling a similar package from my childhood, bearing the same handwritten name without any clues to its origin. The rain outside intensified slightly, weaving patterns on the window that mirrored the warmth I felt on the box's surface. Was it mere coincidence, or a subtle connection waiting to be unveiled? Lost in these musings, the room's temperature seemed to shift imperceptibly, settling into a serene equilibrium. The package exuded its familiar scent, now intensified, mingling with the earthy fragrance of rain seeping through the crack in the window. A revelation unfolded before me. My touch left faint, luminous imprints on the cardboard, glowing briefly before fading like ethereal sparks in the night sky. Time slipped away as I observed this enchanting phenomenon, only to realize night had descended when I looked up. The room bathed in a twilight hue, with the package emitting a faint, almost ethereal glow, the sole source of light. Deciding to leave the mystery untouched for the evening, I gently set the package on the coffee table and illuminated the room with a soft lamp. In the artificial light, it appeared ordinary once more, a simple cube of brown cardboard with my name etched upon it. Days passed, the package resting on the table, occasionally revealing its faint glow in the twilight, its subtle movements akin to a silent ballet. The elusive scent lingered, shifting subtly with each passing hour, a constant yet ever-changing presence. The enigmatic package remained a symbol of wonder, its true contents and origins shrouded in mystery. Perhaps its magic lay not in what it held, but in the mystery it embodied, a riddle begging not to be solved, but to be savored in quiet contemplation. Even now, as autumn rains serenade the windows, my thoughts drift back to that mysterious package and its silent allure. I wonder if, somewhere out there, another soul gazes upon a similar parcel, bearing their name in that same elegant script, pondering whether to unravel its secrets or let the enigma dance undisturbed in the shadows of the night. Story 26. In the quiet of the attic, the delicate rustle of paper filled the air as it slipped through my fingers. The fading sunlight filtered through a small dusty window, painting the room with golden hues that swirled in the stillness. Among the old family papers, I stumbled upon a yellowed envelope sealed with faded red wax. My name, elegantly inscribed on its rough surface, caught my eye, though the handwriting was unfamiliar to me. Settling into a worn wooden chair that groaned softly beneath me, I inhaled the fragrance of aged books and weathered wood that lingered in the air. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves of a majestic tree outside the window, adding a soft whisper to the room. The weight of the envelope in my hands hinted at secrets beyond its sealed contents. Slowly, I broke the wax seal, the sound echoing through the silent space. Inside, delicate pages awaited, adorned with the same elegant script. The date atop the pages revealed a time 50 years before my own, a time when I was not yet a thought. The first words drew me in immediately, my dear future grandchild. As I read on, the daylight waned, casting shadows around me, yet I made no move to brighten the room. The words on the pages seemed to shimmer with a light of their own, captivating me in their glow. The letter unfurled a tale of a woman, my grandmother, a stranger to me in life. She spoke of a unique gift that flowed through our family, emerging rarely and only under specific circumstances. She detailed nights when the moon hung full and the wind whispered from the north, when some among us could catch fleeting glimpses beyond the veil of time. Not clear visions, but fleeting sensations and blurry images, like dreams on the edge of consciousness. My grandmother recounted how she had foreseen my existence, how she had witnessed me in that very attic, reading her words. A shiver crept down my spine as her narrative unfolded, growing more personal, more intimate. She described her attempts to wield this gift for the family's protection, to navigate them through trials and tribulations. But with each glimpse beyond time's veil came a cost, a draining of her very essence. In the attic's silence, time seemed suspended, shadows playing with memories etched on those yellowed pages. The letter continued, outlining events of my past and those yet to come. As I delved deeper, the handwriting subtly shifted, growing uncertain, as if each word demanded greater effort. The final page lay before me, a challenge to decipher. My grandmother's words spoke of a pivotal choice looming on my horizon, a moment when the gift would stir within me as well. I paused, peering out the window where the night had fallen, the full moon casting a soft glow through drifting clouds. A gust of wind rustled the glass, carrying the scent of impending rain. Returning to the letter's conclusion, her final message gleamed as though freshly penned. "When you hear the call," she wrote, "you will know what to do. The gift is not a burden, but a duty. As I have done for you, you too must craft a letter never to be sent, yet destined to reach its recipient when the time is right." With care, I folded the pages and returned them to their envelope. The wind outside gained strength, the old floorboards groaning beneath me as I stood. I approached the window, my reflection blending with the moonlight, a surreal dance of shadows and light. For a fleeting heartbeat, another figure seemed to materialize in the glass, a smiling elderly woman. Blinking, she vanished, leaving behind on the desk a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Seating myself once more, the room bathed in silver moonbeams, the north wind whispering through the night, I took up the pen and began to write. My dear future grandchild. Story 27. The rain tapping on the roof of the ancestral home played a soothing tune while I sifted through the final remnants of my grandmother's legacy. Nostalgia hung heavy in the air, mingling with the fragrance of aged wood and swirling dust, basking in the sun's dying light, seeping through the cream curtains. Each item I handled seemed to whisper tales of days gone by, painting vivid memories in my mind. It was in the last box that I uncovered a weathered photo album, bound in dark leather. Despite its worn edges, the leather still held a softness that only time can bestow. Running my fingers over the cover, I placed it gently on the aged oak table in the living room. The scent of musty paper wafted from its pages, carrying me back in time. Each monochrome photograph within captured snippets of family life, weddings, birthdays, lazy summer days. smiling at the familiar faces of my ancestors in their youth. I noticed resemblances echoing through generations. The rustle of pages mingled with the rain's soft rhythm on the window panes. Pausing at a picture taken in the garden, I spotted my grandmother, radiant in a floral dress, surrounded by her siblings at a sunlit table. Yet one figure stood apart, a mystery in the frame. Clad in a light dress and a shadowed hat, she remained a stranger in the family narrative. Removing the photo, I examined it closely. On its back, a date inscribed in my grandmother's elegant hand, summer 1956. No further clues. The room chilled as a breeze stirred the curtains, the sun dipping below the horizon, casting shadows of uncertainty. Switching on an old table lamp, its warm glow bathed the room in a soft embrace. As I scrutinized the photo under the new light, a disquieting detail emerged. The mysterious figure's shadow defied logic, diverging from the others. While the family's shadows extended to the right, hers veered in an inexplicable direction, as if lit from another source. A shiver traced my spine. Recollections surfaced of a hushed conversation between my mother and aunt, speaking of a woman who had briefly crossed paths with the family before vanishing without a trace. The rain's melody grew more hypnotic, enveloping me. Fixated on the photo, the enigmatic figure sharpened, the rest blurring slightly. It felt as though she harbored a message, a secret frozen in time. Turning the photo, faint markings in the corner caught my eye. Barely discernible words etched lightly. She always sees. Gently returning the photo to its place, I couldn't bring myself to close the album. A compulsion urged me to linger, as if the picture held a dormant truth. How many untold stories lay hidden within these walls? How many mysteries lingered in the stillness of time? The rain persisted in its gentle descent as night draped the house in silence. Settled in an armchair by the window, album in hand, I delved into contemplation. Who was she truly? What had she witnessed? And most of all, did she continue to watch? Leaving the album open on the table, I readied for bed, stealing one last glance from the threshold. Briefly, beneath the lamp's flickering light, it seemed as though the figure had shifted, as if meeting my gaze. Yet perhaps it was a trick of shadows, or perhaps something deeper, a mystery fated to linger, safeguarded within the album's aged pages. Story 28. The soothing cadence of raindrops tapping against my window had transformed into a familiar companion during my late-night writing rituals. Each droplet traced shimmering paths down the glass, crafting an ever-changing tapestry of liquid light. The soft radiance of my desk lamp enveloped me in a tranquil amber glow, while the rest of the room slumbered in cozy darkness. I found solace in observing the raindrops, unraveling the intricate patterns of their meandering journeys. Occasionally, when my thoughts drifted from my writing, I would weave tales within their crystalline trails. Yet tonight, there was a subtle shift in their dance. The water flowed in peculiar ways, as if guided by an unseen force. Initially, I brushed it off as a fatigue-induced illusion. The gentle patter of rain nearly lulled me into that serene realm between consciousness and slumber. However, the enigmatic patterns grew more defined as I persisted in my observation. Droplets avoided certain spots on the glass, sculpting dry spaces that slowly etched the silhouette of a figure. I held my breath, drawn closer to the window. The reflection not only mirrored the rain, but also captured the dim interior of my room behind me. In that dual mirror of glass and water, I discerned an oddity in my own reflection. It seemed slightly delayed, as if mimicking my movements with a fractional delay. The rain's melodic whispers intensified, serenading my ears with its subtle symphony. Entranced, I witnessed my reflection's hand reaching out to touch the glass, contrary to my own hand resting on my lap. The motion flowed elegantly, akin to a dancer executing a choreography unknown to me. A gentle warmth enveloped my skin, contrasting the chill near the window. The features of my reflection underwent subtle transformations, turning into something both recognizable and alien. The eyes that met mine held a profound wisdom, depths unfathomed in my own gaze, a timeless wisdom spanning ages. Motionless, I observed as my reflection continued its graceful metamorphosis. The face transcended gender and age, embodying a timeless essence. The rain wove patterns around it, a silver frame encircling the enigma, as droplets defied gravity in perfect circles. A flicker of my desk lamp momentarily dimmed the room. In that ephemeral dusk, a presence brushed against me, gentle as a mother's caress. As the light steadied, my reflection reverted to mirroring my actions flawlessly. Yet the rain persisted in those impossible circles, a whisper of the extraordinary that had graced my presence. I lingered by the window for hours, contemplating the enigmatic encounter. The lingering presence felt akin to a cherished melody, neither menacing nor intrusive. With the approach of dawn, the rain gradually waned, leaving behind a window strewn with mundane water stains. On rainy nights now, I am drawn to that window, pen and paper forgotten on my desk. Occasionally, under the perfect alignment of conditions when rainfall creates a flawless mirror, I glimpse that alternate self observing me through the glass. A silent accord exists between my reflection and I, acknowledging that some mysteries are meant to be experienced rather than unraveled. The rain persists, each drop carrying the promise of another rendezvous. In those fleeting moments of observation and being observed, I ponder if in a distant realm, another iteration of myself sits by their window, yearning to glimpse my world through the silver veils of rain. Story 29. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my aging country home, crafting a soothing melody that intertwined with the faint creaking of the hardwood floor beneath my steps. It was a tranquil autumn evening, where the line between reality and imagination seemed blurred. The leaves of trees swayed in the darkness, casting ever-shifting shadows on the cream-colored walls of the hallway through misty panes. Nestled in my beloved armchair, cradling a cup of now cool chamomile tea, I idly watched as the light from the floor lamp painted a golden halo on the ground. A subtle shift lingered in the air that evening, a mysterious yet persistent feeling that eluded my grasp. It could have been the thickness of the atmosphere, or the profound silence of the house that felt almost palpable. Rising slowly, I was drawn by a flicker caught in my peripheral vision. The corridor leading to the bedroom seemed elongated, stretching beyond its usual confines. The shadows in the corners appeared denser, almost alive, as I halted at the threshold of the living room, peering into the deepening darkness down the hallway. A gradual chill crept in as I moved forward. The wooden floor emitted unfamiliar sounds beneath my feet, as if I trod upon an alien surface. The ancestral photographs adorning the walls seemed to regard me with a newfound intensity, as if the familiar faces had morphed into slightly altered versions of themselves. Midway down the hallway, I paused. A peculiar scent beckoned me, a fragrance of ancient books and damp wood foreign to my home. I turned to the window on my right, observing the intricate patterns etched by the rain on the glass, designs that followed a cryptic yet orderly scheme. And then I saw it, a shadow, darker than the rest, gliding along the opposite wall with unnatural grace. It bore no visible source, possessing a solidity akin to condensed mist. Moving slowly, almost hesitantly, it seemed aware of my presence. My breath deepened as I observed, feeling not fear, but an uncanny sense of recognition, as though that presence had always lingered, awaiting acknowledgement. The shadow halted by the guest room door, assuming a vaguely human form. Taking a step nearer, the shadow appeared to react, wavering slightly. The rain's rhythm transformed into a constant murmur, as if attempting to convey a message. Straining my ears, I discerned fleeting words in an unfamiliar, yet strangely comprehensible tongue. The air grew colder around me, though not unpleasant, akin to being enveloped in a cool silk sheet on a balmy summer eve. The shadow commenced its approach, moving towards me with fluid motions resembling a slow-motion dance. I stood transfixed, watching as it drew closer. When mere steps away, it paused. In the hush of the house, my heartbeat sounded steady and calm. The shadow inclined slightly, as if in salutation. Moved by an inexplicable impulse, I raised a hand. The shadow mirrored my gesture, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed what seemed like a hand emerging from its nebulous form. Though no physical contact was made, I felt a warmth where our hands nearly met. With the same grace it appeared, the shadow began to dissipate. Like smoke whisked away by an unseen breeze, it dissolved into the air, leaving behind a faint scent of jasmine and a profound sense of tranquility. Standing in the hallway, time seemed suspended as I listened to the rain's diminishing cadence. Returning to the living room, I found my tea still warm, as if time had paused during our encounter. Since that evening, on rainy nights, I tread the hallway with heightened awareness, watching for those elusive shadows. At times, I catch a glimpse of that familiar figure dancing just beyond my vision's edge. The mystery of the shadow remains unsolved, yet its presence instills not unease but an understanding that some enigmas require no explanation. The hallway of my home now harbors this secret, and on quiet nights, when rain taps against the windows, I await, a blend of curiosity and serenity, for a new rendezvous with the shadow that dances beyond the corridor. Story 30. The autumn garden lay veiled in a delicate mist that morning as I gathered fallen leaves under the soft light of dawn. The crisp air tenderly kissed my cheeks, carrying the fragrance of moist soil and the chrysanthemums I had carefully planted weeks ago. Silence enveloped the surroundings, broken only by the gentle shuffle of dried leaves beneath my feet and the occasional serenade of an early bird. While tending to the area near the weathered stone bench, a faint glimmer amidst the foliage caught my eye. A subtle silver reflection beckoned to me, akin to a dewdrop capturing a sunbeam. Slowly lowering myself, I brushed aside the damp leaves, revealing an antique necklace. It was a piece of exquisite craftsmanship, featuring an oval pendant adorned with intricate floral motifs and a small azure gem at its heart, captivating light in a mesmerizing dance. As I held the necklace in my hands, sensing its ethereal weight and cool touch against my skin, I knew it belonged to none I was acquainted with. Having resided alone in that abode for over 2 decades, the absence of familiarity with such adornment puzzled me. The blue gem continued to radiate with a unique luminosity, almost as if it held a light of its own. That night, after tenderly cleansing the necklace, I positioned it on the nightstand beside my bed. Falling asleep, I observed the moonlight filtering through the window, casting enchanting shadows upon the walls from the metallic surface. Throughout the night, I stirred from slumber, sensing a distant melody, a delicate tune akin to a music box playing in the depths of the house. Sweet and melancholic, it dissipated whenever I strained to grasp it. At daybreak, I noticed the necklace had shifted on the nightstand, as though moved by an unseen hand during the night. In the daylight, the blue gem appeared less radiant, yet upon holding it, a gentle warmth now emanated from the metal, distinct from the previous coldness. Intrigued by its enigmatic nature, I delved into researching its origins. In the ensuing days, subtle alterations within the house caught my attention. Objects on the kitchen table seemed rearranged each morning, as though scrutinized in the night. Family portraits in the hallway appeared askew, their positions varying daily. Meanwhile, the nocturnal melody persisted, growing clearer, more recognizable, yet impossible to pinpoint. One evening, as I sat engrossed in a book, the necklace beside me on the side table, faint footsteps echoed from upstairs. Delicate and light, akin to a child tiptoeing, they prompted me to ascend the stairs stealthily, only to find solitude. However, within the guest room, repurposed as a storage space, an unfamiliar wooden box awaited my discovery. Adorned with floral patterns mirroring the necklace, it cradled a time-yellowed photograph on faded velvet. The image depicted a young woman donning an identical necklace, accompanied by a date and a phrase inscribed in faded script to remember the happy days in the garden. From that night forth, the music box melody grew more frequent, its presence no longer unsettling but comforting. It was as though the very essence of the house hummed a soothing lullaby, filling the rooms during the hush of night. Sometimes, amid autumn evenings in the garden, I caught fleeting glimpses of a vague figure moving amidst the trees, a memory attempting to materialize. The identity of the woman in the photograph and the origins of the necklace remained elusive mysteries. Yet I embraced their presence in my life, akin to the changing seasons and the passage of time. The necklace still adorns my nightstand, and on tranquil nights, when the moon shines full and the breeze whispers through the leaves, faint laughter mingles with the music box melody, a distant echo of joyous days faded by time. Story 31. The night had enveloped the aging house in a soft cloak of stillness, broken only by the gentle patter of autumn rain on the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a warm cup of tea, my gaze wandered absently to the painting hanging before me. An heirloom from my grandmother, it depicted a tranquil woodland scene at dusk. Though not a valuable piece, its charm lay in its ability to stir a sense of wistful calm. Amidst the golden glow cast by the floor lamp, a peculiar observation caught my eye. The painting appeared askew, leaning slightly to the right, a deviation from its usual alignment. With a sigh, I set down the cup on the nearby table and rose, the aged floor murmuring beneath my cautious steps as I approached the wall. Gently I straightened the painting, feeling the rough edges of its antique frame beneath my fingertips. Returning to my seat, I resumed my book, lulled by the warmth of the tea and the soothing rhythm of the rain outside. Minutes later, lifting my gaze, I found the painting tilted once more, this time to the left. A subtle chill crept down my spine as I pondered this oddity, attributing it to fatigue or mere tricks of light. Rising again, I approached the painting with heightened awareness. To my surprise, I noticed a newfound vibrancy in the sunset hues, the tree shadows elongated, casting an eerie spell. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the canvas, sensing a warmth that defied explanation, a peculiar luminosity dancing off the painted scene. In the days that followed, my attention was drawn increasingly to the painting. Each visit revealed a subtle shift in its position, at times imperceptible, at others more pronounced. Not only did its tilt vary, but the very essence of the artwork seemed to undergo subtle alterations. Trees appeared denser, clouds morphed in the painted sky, and elusive details emerged and vanished within the scene. Capturing these changes, I diligently photographed the painting, comparing the snapshots with meticulous scrutiny. The discrepancies, though slight, were undeniable, a testament to a hidden realm within the artistry. One tranquil evening, seated in my familiar chair, a flicker of movement caught my eye. The painting, with a ghostly grace, began to tilt on its own, a slow, deliberate motion that stirred curiosity rather than fear. Approaching it once more, I observed a gentle vibration in the canvas, a pulse that seemed to echo a different tempo of existence. And in the reflection of the protective glass, a fleeting vision emerged, a blurred silhouette, reminiscent of my grandmother's countenance, adjusting the painting with a spectral touch. Since that moment, I've embraced these enigmatic changes as part of the house's mystique. Each night, before retiring to bed, I devote a moment to the painting, seeking out its evolving secrets. Perhaps it is my grandmother's silent message, a reassurance of her presence in this shifting canvas that breathes with a life of its own. This tale remains mine alone, a cherished mystery held close to my heart. The painting, now settled in its occasional movements, maintains a delicate balance between revelation and concealment, a silent pact between us. And so I sit in my armchair each evening, tea in hand, serenaded by the rain's gentle cadence, a silent witness to the painting that dances in its own realm, a language known only to us. Story 32. The hush of the night was broken by a distant ethereal melody. Nestled in my cherished armchair, draped in a cozy woolen blanket with a now chilled cup of chamomile tea resting on the nearby table, I glanced up from the book in my hands. The delicate notes drifted through the air like gentle snowflakes, almost imperceptible yet undeniably present. A piano undoubtedly was serenading with a tune unfamiliar yet oddly familiar, akin to a faded memory of a long-lost dream. The house enveloped in shadows, only a small lamp beside me casting a circle of soft light, painting dancing shadows on the walls in rhythm with the mysterious music. Rising slowly, the blanket slid off my lap to the floor with a soft whisper. Every step I took on the wooden floor whispered a faint creak as I made my way to the living room window. Beyond, the night lay tranquil and soundless. The full moon bathed the garden in a silver glow, illuminating the swaying silhouettes of trees in the nocturnal breeze. The neighboring houses remained shrouded in darkness, devoid of any signs of life. Yet, the music persisted, seemingly emanating from all directions and none simultaneously. Wandering through the house, from one room to the next, the melody seemed to shift subtly with my every move. In the kitchen, it beckoned from the living room. In the living room, it whispered from the stairs. On the stairs, it descended from the upper floor. A hypnotic game of echoes and whispers led me in a silent waltz through the familiar spaces of my abode. Upon reaching my bedroom upstairs, I noticed the door slightly ajar, although I distinctly remembered leaving it wide open that morning. Moonbeams filtered through the sheer curtains, casting intricate patterns on the floor. The music grew clearer, more distinct, as if I was on the verge of discovering its origin. Pausing at the threshold, I surveyed the room intently. My aged music box, a relic from my grandmother perched on the bedside table, glinted in the dim light, unopened for years under the assumption that it was broken. Now, in the stillness of the night, its miniature ballerina twirled gracefully, her dancing shadow painting the wall. The melody resonating from it mirrored the one that had lured me there, yet amplified, as if the entire house had transformed into a resonating chamber. Approaching with measured steps, my heart synchronized with the music's rhythm. The music box seemed to radiate a soft light of its own, the surface surprisingly warm to the touch. The ballerina continued her pirouette, but her once featureless face now bore a striking resemblance to my grandmother's, complete with her familiar, gentle smile from my youth. As the tiny figure's eyes met mine fleetingly, the melody shifted subtly, morphing into the lullaby she often sang to me as a child. I stood transfixed, enveloped by the music like an old, comforting embrace. Fear was absent, replaced by a profound sense of tranquility and longing for days past. The notes lingered in the air, gradually diminishing in intensity, like waves receding from the shore. As the music finally faded into silence, the music box closed softly with a gentle click. The house once again cloaked in quietude, but a different quietude, pregnant with significance. Descending to my armchair downstairs, retrieving the fallen blanket, I wrapped myself in its warmth once more. The book lay open, its pages untouched, my thoughts consumed by the enigmatic music box and memories of my grandmother. How many melodies had remained ensnared in those silent gears all these years, awaiting the opportune moment for release. Since that fateful night, on occasion, when the house falls into a profound stillness and the full moon bathes the garden in its soft light, a sweet, familiar melody drifts through the rooms. I no longer seek its origin. I merely close my eyes and listen, understanding that some mysteries are meant to be felt rather than unraveled. Story 33. The evening held a distinct essence, that of autumn seeping into your very being, whispering promises of ever-lengthening nights. Nestled in the armchair of my study, I tuned into the gentle wind outside, a soft caress on the leaves, crafting a natural lullaby. In that tranquil moment, A noise stirred from the depths of the basement, a subtle rustle akin to the whisper of ancient paper. Initially, I dismissed it as the usual settling of the house, the gentle murmurs every structure emits as it readies for the night's embrace. Intrigued rather than alarmed, I rose from my seat. The warm glow of the desk lamp draped me in a golden aura as I approached the basement door. Each wooden step sighed softly beneath my weight, as though murmuring long-held secrets. The air grew chillier with each descent, carrying a faint aroma of damp soil and forsaken books. In the basement, shadows waltzed on the walls in harmony with the flickering light bulb. The space, familiar with neatly arranged boxes and shrouded furniture resembling slumbering specters, felt altered that evening. A detail caught my eye, one previously unnoticed. In the farthest corner where light struggled to reach, a door stood. Simple in design, crafted from dark wood sans embellishments, it perplexed me as I had never before laid eyes on it despite numerous hours spent organizing the basement. The brass handle gleamed unusually bright, as if freshly polished. Intrigued, I approached, sensing the floor pulse beneath my feet, a heartbeat of its own. As I neared, a chill emanated from the door, the air surrounding it icy. My fingers grazed the aged, uneven wood, sensing a faint vibration as if it acknowledged my presence. The basement's silence deepened, interrupted solely by the echo of my heartbeat. Tentatively, I reached for the handle, surprised by its warmth amidst the surrounding cold. Turning it slowly, the mechanism yielded with an unexpected smoothness. The door swung open noiselessly, revealing a sight beyond belief. Not a wall or another room, but a gossamer mist swaying gently, as if stirred by an unseen zephyr. The mist exuded a soft, almost hypnotic glow, inviting rather than ominous, reminiscent of a pleasant dream fading upon waking. A delicate, distant melody, like a piano's unseen notes, drifted from within. The air bore a sweet, familiar fragrance, redolent of spring blooms or freshly brewed tea. Standing on the threshold, torn between curiosity and caution, I beheld the mist weaving shapes that materialized and dissolved before my eyes. Vague faces, unfamiliar landscapes flickered into view, as though glimpsing through a veil separating reality from the enigmatic depths. I retreated, closing the door gently. The latch's click broke the enchantment. Familiar sounds returned, the clock's ticking, winds rustle, a dog's bark in the still neighborhood. Ascending the stairs slowly, I carried with me the sense of unearthing something extraordinary. In the days that ensued, I revisited the basement, yet the door had vanished, replaced by an unyielding brick wall. But on the quietest nights, when the world teeters between wakefulness and slumber, I still sense that distant melody. I ponder if that door lingers somewhere, concealed, awaiting another's discovery. Some doors open only at specific junctures, when time and space converge in incomprehensible ways. Perhaps it's best, for the mystery of that basement door taught me that not all queries necessitate answers. Some secrets are more beautiful shrouded, akin to dreams brushing against reality before dissolving into the silver mist of memory. Story 34. The November rain softly tapped against the windows of Grandma Rose's attic, crafting a natural lullaby that always brought me tranquility. Returning after years to sift through her belongings, now that she had departed, the scent of aged wood and weathered books lingered in the air. The twilight's faint glow seeped through the partially closed shutters, casting playful shadows on the vintage wallpapered walls. Nestled in a corner, veiled by a thin film of dust, I stumbled upon Grandma's old brass record player, gleaming like a polished mirror. An artifact from a bygone era, its ornate mechanical arm adorned with intricate floral patterns, the turntable immaculately preserved. Beside it, a collection of vinyl records meticulously arranged in time-worn cardboard sleeves. As I sifted through the records, my fingers halted on one in particular. A cover entirely blank, devoid of title or author, save for a delicate golden border that shimmered in the dim light. unfamiliar yet distinct among Grandma Rose's cherished collection. Intrigued, I decided to play it. The record player awakened with a familiar, comforting hum. Placing the record on the turntable, I lowered the arm. A moment of vinyl crackle, then the music unfurled. A melody unknown to my ears, a waltz on the piano, yet with a peculiar twist in the note's progression. The music seemed to shift subtly with each revolution of the record, as if rearranging itself into new harmonies. Surrendering to the enchantment, I closed my eyes, enveloped by the mysterious composition. Hints of jasmine, Grandma Rose's beloved flower, teased my senses, though the season forbade its presence. Opening my eyes, the room's shadows moved erratically, swaying to the enigmatic melody instead of the fading daylight. Before me, a figure's shadow danced on the wall, despite my solitary presence. Amidst the waltz, Grandma Rose's laughter, unmistakable and vivid, intermingled with the piano notes. A chill ran down my spine, not of fear, but of a poignant blend of nostalgia and awe. Rising from the armchair, I approached the window. A reflection revealed the room behind me, yet a fleeting vision of Grandma Rose, youthful and resplendent in her dance attire, twirling in the attic's center, flitted across the glass. But as I turned, the room stood empty. The record played on, and as the final note dissipated into silence, a transformed ambience enveloped the space. Vibrant, pulsating with life, as if that ephemeral musical interlude had stirred dormant memories within the house's very walls. That night, as I returned the enigmatic record to its white sleeve, a newfound discovery emerged. Grandma Rose's elegant script graced the inner edge, marking her wedding day. Beneath it, in nearly imperceptible letters, a message: music is the key to our most precious memories. Since then, each visit to the attic entails a search for that elusive record, sometimes readily found, other times cunningly concealed among its peers. And with each listen, the melody morphs slightly, harboring infinite variations of a singular memory. The nature of this gift, whether a tribute to Grandma Rose or something more mystical, remains a mystery. Yet on those rainy evenings when the record player spins its cryptic tune, the attic brims with a subtle enchantment. A brief juncture where the line between past and present, reality and memory, blurs akin to the frailty of an old photograph. Perhaps in those fleeting instances, Grandma Rose twirls in a perpetual waltz, forever young, forever joyful, embracing an eternal dance through time. Story 35. The first time I noticed the phenomenon was on a serene autumn evening. Sitting in my study, engrossed in an ancient tome, I sensed a peculiar dimming of the natural light filtering through the window. Looking up, I beheld an extraordinary sight. The sky above my dwelling slowly cloaked itself in darkness, while the surroundings basked in the warm glow of sunset. The contrast was subtle, yet undeniable, as though an invisible veil had chosen to enshroud solely my rooftop. The air carried the fragrance of moist earth and fallen leaves, while a gentle breeze caused the lace curtains to dance in a mesmerizing rhythm. Their soft rustling created a hypnotic melody that seemed to harmonize with this mysterious natural display. In the ensuing days, the phenomenon unfolded with regularity. Each evening, as the sun embarked on its descent toward the horizon, that specific expanse of sky above my residence would adopt deeper hues compared to the rest of the heavens. It appeared as if a swath of the sky had been painted with strokes of gray and midnight blue, forming a surreal contrast against the brilliant azure backdrop. I found myself fixated on this spectacle for hours, ensconced in an aged velvet armchair near the window. The wooden floor murmured softly under my movements as I tracked the progression of this celestial anomaly. The room's atmosphere grew cooler, and a delicate film of condensation adorned the window panes, giving rise to abstract patterns that seemed to waltz with the shadows. One day, amidst contemplation of this enigma, I discerned a novel occurrence. Within that darkened realm, tiny points of light began to flicker into existence and vanish, akin to stars that chose to twinkle solely for me. Their movements lacked a discernible pattern, yet possessed an entrancing quality, almost akin to music. The silence within the house seemed to accentuate their presence, while the pendulum clocks ticking in the corridor established a rhythm that seemed to synchronize with their dance. As weeks unfurled, I noticed subtle reactions from the objects within my abode to this phenomenon. The antique mirrors appeared to reflect a gentler, more embracing light. Shadows elongated in peculiar formations, evoking ancient symbols. The floor on the windowsill flourished more vibrantly during these moments of selective darkness, as though drawing sustenance from that peculiar twilight. One evening, while seated in my study, I felt a feather-light caress upon my shoulder, as though borne on the breeze. Startled, I turned, only to find emptiness. The aroma of aged volumes and weathered wood permeating the room intensified, and for a fleeting instant, time seemed to halt. The clock's hands continued their passage, yet their chime appeared distant, as though from a far-off realm. I commenced documenting these occurrences in a diary, chronicling every subtle shift in the darkness's intensity and the accompanying phenomena. The pages filled with intricate descriptions of the evolving light, the shifting shadows, the subtle vibrations resonating through the air. My script grew more graceful and fluid during these moments, as though guided by a gentle, enigmatic force. On the stillest nights, a melody seemed to emanate from that darkened portion of the sky. It defied verbal description, more a sensation that reverberated within me. It was as though that darkness harbored an ancient melody, a cosmic lullaby audible solely to my dwelling. With time, I came to embrace this mystery rather than fear it. My abode had transformed into a conduit between the mundane world and something grander, profound. While the world continued its daily rhythms, I found myself enveloped in the embrace of these gentle shadows each evening, immersed in a dance of light and darkness seemingly crafted exclusively for me. Thus, night after night, I observed the sky darkening solely above my dwelling, cognizant that some mysteries are meant to be experienced rather than unraveled. My abode had evolved into a sanctuary of marvel, where the ordinary and extraordinary intertwined in an eternal waltz of light and shadow, of known and unknown, of reality and reverie. Story 36. The night had enfolded the house in a blanket of profound quiet, broken only by the soft patter of rain against the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the shadows waltz across the walls, moving in sync with the flickering firelight. The warmth enveloped me like a snug embrace, while the fragrance of burning wood intertwined with the aroma of vanilla tea cradled in my hands. In that moment of utter tranquility, a peculiar sight caught my eye in my niece's toy room, peeking through the slightly open door. An ancient porcelain music box, a gift from Grandma, seemed to emit a subtle bluish radiance. I couldn't recall ever seeing it glow like that before. Slowly, I stood up from the armchair, placing the teacup on the wooden side table. My footsteps on the floor created a gentle creak that harmonized with the rain's rhythm, weaving an almost hypnotic melody. Drawing closer to the door, the glow intensified yet remained gentle, akin to moonlight shimmering on calm waters. The toy room was a haven of memories and enchantment. Weathered wooden shelves hosted porcelain dolls adorned in Victorian attire, vibrant toy trains, and plush animals with friendly faces. The music box occupied a central spot on the shelf, encircled by small crystals my niece had gathered during her garden strolls. The porcelain ballerina perched atop the music box, typically frozen in her eternal pose, swayed ever so slightly, as if brushed by an invisible breeze. Moving nearer, I noticed the room's temperature was notably cooler than the rest of the house. My breath materialized in small clouds in the air, while the crystals encircling the music box seemed to react to its light, casting miniature rainbows on the walls. The ballerina persisted in her imperceptible motions, and I could almost hear a faint melody in the distance, a musical whisper from a bygone era. Extending my hand towards the music box, at that precise moment, the blue light pulsed softly. The other dolls on the shelf seemed to have turned their heads slightly towards me, but with a blink, they returned to their original positions. The melody grew more distinct. It was a lullaby Grandma used to sing, a tune I had believed faded from memory. The music box began to rotate on its own, at a leisurely pace. The ballerina pirouetted with an unearthly grace, her movements flowing like a true dancer's. The crystals now projected intricate patterns on the ceiling, crafting designs that seemed to narrate tales of eras long past. The room's atmosphere became thick with memories, as though time itself had condensed around that small, enchanting object. I stood transfixed, entranced by the spectacle unfolding before me. The music from the box intertwined with the rain's melody, composing a symphony that whispered of longing and hidden truths. The shadows in the room appeared to sway to the music's tempo, and for a fleeting moment, I sensed I was not alone in witnessing this private exhibition. Slowly, the melody began to fade, slipping away like a dream upon waking. The blue light of the music box dimmed to a faint glow, and the ballerina ceased her dance, coming to a standstill. Silence reclaimed the room, but it was a different silence, pregnant with significance and enigma. Returning to my armchair, I picked up my now tepid tea. As I gazed at the dwindling embers in the fireplace, my thoughts drifted to Grandma and her affinity for objects steeped in history. I pondered whether she had ever encountered something akin to this, if the music box had always possessed that magic, or if it was a special gift reserved for specific moments and select observers. Since that night, whenever I pass by the toy room, I steal a glance at the music box. Sometimes, I swear I catch a fleeting blue shimmer or hear the initial notes of that forgotten lullaby. Yet, perhaps it's merely memories pirouetting in my mind, akin to that porcelain ballerina on that rainy evening. Story 37. Snow drifted down gently that night in my quaint vintage store. The flakes pirouetted behind the windows, bathed in the soft glow of antique lamps, casting a cozy and inviting aura. The aged wooden shelves sighed softly, in tune with the unhurried swaying of the pendulum clock's hands. The air was redolent with the musty scent of ancient books and the sweet hint of beeswax, a fragrance only objects steeped in history could exhale. As I arranged a stack of books, the doorbell chimed with a crystalline tinkle. A draft of chilly air slipped in, carrying in a few snowflakes that dissolved instantly on the wooden floor. I turned towards the entrance to greet the visitor, but paused momentarily, struck by the sight. Standing at the threshold was a tall figure cloaked in darkness, seeming to absorb the light around them. A broad-brimmed hat shielded the upper part of their face, while a gray wool scarf concealed the rest. "Good evening," I murmured, my attempt at a professional tone tinged with a subtle unease creeping up my spine. The visitor remained silent, gliding gracefully among the shelves, their gloved hands delicately skimming over the displayed curios. There was a hypnotic quality to their movements, as though they danced to a melody only they could hear. I found myself captivated by their every gesture, noting how the light behaved oddly in their presence. Shadows deepened and thickened, as if possessing a life of their own. The visitor paused before an antique mirror, an 18th century piece I had recently acquired. With deliberate motions, their gloved fingers traced the golden frame. The silence in the shop grew weighty, interrupted only by the measured tick-tock of the clock that seemed to slow with each passing moment. I tentatively tried to catch their reflection in the mirror, only to realize with a growing disquiet that the reflective surface showed nothing but the shelf behind them, as if they were a specter. I approached cautiously, the floor groaning under my steps. "May I assist you in finding something specific?" I inquired, my voice barely above a whisper. The visitor turned towards me, their obscured face under the hat a mere play of shadows. With a fluid motion, they produced a yellowed piece of paper from their coat pocket and unfolded it on the counter near the cash register. The list, penned in elegant, archaic script, detailed peculiar items. A mirror that remembers, a clock that counts backwards, a key that opens forgotten doors. As I perused the list, a chill seemed to settle in the shop. Wisps of my breath hung in the air like ethereal clouds. The objects on the shelves seemed to quiver imperceptibly, as if acknowledging something in the visitor's presence. "I apologize," I murmured, "but I don't believe I possess these particular items." The visitor stood motionless for a prolonged moment, then inclined their heads slowly. Retrieving the paper with the same grace they had displayed earlier, they tucked it back into their coat. They made their way to the exit, but paused before leaving. They turned slightly, and from beneath the scarf emerged a sound, more akin to a thought than a voice. "You will." It wasn't a question, but a statement of certainty. The bell jingled as they departed, the sound resonating deeper, as if echoing from a distant place. The snow continued its descent outside, yet for a fleeting instant, it appeared as though the flakes halted in mid-air, suspended in time. That evening, after securing the shop for the night, I inspected the antique mirror. Its reflective surface seemed to beckon with hidden depths. And the pendulum clock, the timekeeper that had faithfully marked the hours, had ceased precisely at the moment of the visitor's arrival. Since then, night after night, as shadows lengthened and light dimmed, I find myself drawn to the door, anticipating the chime of the bell. And every object in the store appears to do the same, as if we all shared the knowledge that the visitor would return, sooner or later. In an antique shop, each object harbors a story to recount, and perhaps, just maybe, some items are yet to embark on their own tale. Story 38. The quiet of the small hillside town draped its streets like a soft velvet cloak. On this autumn evening, the scent of burning wood and wet leaves lingered in the air, while tendrils of fog slithered through the narrow alleys like a silent feline. From my perch on the third floor of the apartment building, I gazed out at the neighboring houses, their windows aglow with a golden hue. It struck me as odd to see so many lights shining at this late hour, yet not a soul stirred behind those misted panes. The church bell chimed 10 times, its toll carrying an eerie emptiness, as if the sound itself was wrapped in a cocoon of cotton. Though I had only recently arrived in this town 3 weeks prior, I had never witnessed the streets so devoid of life. Normally, even at this hour, a solitary figure would be out walking a dog, or young voices from the nearby tavern would drift through the night air, accompanied by tendrils of cigarette smoke. Settled in my favorite armchair, a cup of chamomile tea cradled in my hands, I observed the absence of even the usual stray cat that frequented Mrs. Miller's windowsill. The steam rising from my cup waltzed lazily in the room, forming fleeting shapes that dissolved into the darkness. Opting for just a small reading lamp to illuminate the room, it cast gentle shadows on the cream-colored walls. A sudden rustling sound piqued my interest, emanating from the hallway leading to the bedroom. Turning slowly, more intrigued than frightened, I listened as the noise repeated at regular intervals, akin to the soft rustle of paper being moved across the floor. Placing the cup delicately on the wooden table beside me, I rose from the armchair, drawn to investigate. As I neared the hallway, I sensed a chill in the air. Not the harsh bite of winter, but a coolness reminiscent of stepping into an ancient church. The floorboards murmured softly beneath my feet, a familiar sound that provided an odd sense of comfort. Upon reaching the threshold of the bedroom, I halted. The door stood slightly ajar, emitting a faint, bluish light from within, unlike any other illumination in the house. Pushing the door open gently, it creaked in protest. The window remained closed, yet the curtains swayed as if stirred by a gentle breeze. Nestled on the floor beneath the window lay a single sheet of paper. Drawing closer, I saw it was a fragment of a newspaper, its date reading October 15th, 1954. The headline of the article seized my attention: Mysterious Night of Silence in Pine Grove. The piece recounted a night when the town's inhabitants had all barricaded themselves indoors, as if compelled by an unspoken agreement lost to time. Engrossed in the article, movement beyond the window snagged my gaze. Across the street, lights flickered out one by one, resembling candles extinguished by an unseen hand. Yet, within the darkened windows, motionless figures loomed, their gazes seemingly fixed upon the empty street. A vibration in my robe pocket alerted me to a message from the building's WhatsApp group. Tonight, remain inside. It is of utmost importance. Glancing out the window once more, I noted that all lights had now faded, save for mine. Within the deepening silence, the cadence of my heartbeat seemed to slow, synchronizing with something ancient and enigmatic. Seating myself on the edge of the bed, the soft newspaper clutched in my hand, I marveled at its well-worn texture, as if it had passed through countless hands. Beyond the window, the fog thickened, enveloping the streetlights in a ghostly halo. Surveying the main thoroughfare of the town from my vantage point, it lay deserted, a tableau frozen in time. Recalling the details of the article, I pondered how, according to witnesses of that era, the morning following such a night of silence held no recollection for the townsfolk. Life resumed as usual, yet sporadically the phenomenon would recur. Rising slowly, I made my way to the light switch. Before extinguishing the glow, I stole one final glance at the street outside. The mist had assumed sinuous, almost dancing forms, and for a fleeting moment, I fancied I saw shadows flit within, as if specters adrift in a sea of milk. With the room plunged into darkness, I settled onto the bed, fully clothed. The silence now reigned absolute, punctuated solely by the rhythmic ticking of the bedside clock. As sleep beckoned, I mulled over whether come morning I would retain memory of this peculiar night, or if, like the other denizens of the town, I would remain oblivious to the cyclical enigma weaving through our lives. The last sensation to register before succumbing to slumber was the distant tolling of midnight bells, their chime curiously muted, as if echoing from an epoch beyond, where silence served as the common tongue of all inhabitants. Story 39. The autumn rain whispered softly, draping a gossamer curtain over the world. Night had descended, and my shift had lingered into the late hours. Each step I took on the slick pavement melded with the delicate rhythm of raindrops tapping on the hoods of parked cars. The air hung heavy with that unique fragrance born only from rain, a blend of damp earth, decaying foliage, and a hint of invigorating crispness that trailed in the wake of a storm. Approaching the bus stop, a solitary figure caught my eye. Nestled on the bench beneath the translucent shelter, they sat motionless, clad in a dark coat that seemed to meld seamlessly with the surrounding shadows. A wide-brimmed hat shielded part of their face from view. What struck me immediately was the anomaly of their coat. Despite the downpour, it remained utterly dry. Coming to a halt a few paces away, I attempted to maintain a discreet presence while fixating on this enigmatic detail. The dim glow of the street lamp painted peculiar shadows around the figure, momentarily blurring the contours of their form as if seen through frosted glass. In their presence, the rain's cadence seemed to hush, cocooning us in an unnatural bubble of quiet. Glancing at my phone, the screen revealed 20 minutes until my bus arrived. Tentatively, I edged closer to the shelter, seeking refuge from the escalating rain. The stranger made no movement, no indication of acknowledging my presence. Settling at the opposite end of the bench, I strived to uphold a respectful distance. A disconcerting observation seized my attention then. Although we shared the shelter, raindrops near the figure diverted from their trajectory, as if repelled by an unseen force. The rain's melody shifted in pitch as it approached them, emitting a subtle, almost imperceptible hiss. Minutes dragged on languidly. I tried to divert my focus by scrolling through messages, yet the stranger's aura continued to ensnare me. At times, from my peripheral vision, I caught a flicker of movement, as though they were beholding something distant and exclusive to their vision. A gust of wind swept through, causing the street lamp to sway, casting deeper shadows momentarily. It was then the stranger subtly turned towards me. Beneath the hat's brim, where eyes should have been, only two faint orbs of light gleamed, akin to the moon's shimmer on tranquil waters. My heartbeat thrummed steadily, a potent rhythm within my chest. Though tempted to flee, an insatiable curiosity held me in place. The stranger gradually shifted back to their initial posture, and the moment ebbed away like a wave receding from the shore. In the distance, the familiar hum of the approaching bus shattered the stillness. Headlights pierced the darkness, elongating shadows on the slick road. As the vehicle halted before us with a pneumatic hiss, I rose swiftly. Casting a final glance at the bench, the stranger had vanished. No rustle of movement, no echo of footsteps, simply an absence. With legs slightly tremulous, I boarded the bus, opting for a seat near the driver. As the bus set in motion, I stole a glance through the misted window. The shelter stood vacant, yet fleetingly, I thought I glimpsed a dark silhouette dissolving into the rain, akin to smoke carried away by the wind. In the days that ensued, whenever I frequented that bus stop at night, it seemed altered. The street lamp's glow dimmed, and the rain's song possessed an uncanny resonance, as if the very air retained the memory of that mysterious presence. Though the stranger never crossed my path again, on rainy evenings since that night, I occasionally observe raindrops behaving peculiarly, deviating from their descent without reason or rhyme. Story 40. The rain whispered its gentle lullaby upon the windows of the cozy establishment, harmonizing with the soft clinks of cups and the murmurs of the few lingering patrons. Seated at the bar, I observed the play of dim lights pirouetting on the glossy surface of the dark wood. Jack, the bartender, moved with a deliberate rhythm as he polished glasses, his movements almost hypnotic in their precision. Yet, that evening, a subtle shift lingered in his gaze, a depth I had not noticed in my routine visits. His dark eyes harbored enigmatic thoughts as he prepared my customary lavender tea. While his hands moved with customary grace, a faint tremor betrayed an unseen unease when he set the cup before me. The fragrance of lavender waltzed through the air, mingling with the aroma of coffee and the aged wood essence that saturated the air. Jack's fleeting glances towards a solitary figure nestled in the far corner caught my attention. This lone figure remained still, blending into the scenery like a silent sentinel. With measured steps, Jack refilled my cup, his controlled breathing belying a tension that tinged his voice as he inquired if I desired anything else. It was then that a disquieting detail caught my eye. A barely discernible reddish stain marred the cuff of his once spotless white shirt concealed in the bar's dim glow. Time ebbed away, accompanied by the hypnotic patter of rain outside. Patrons departed one by one, leaving behind vacant chairs and idle cups. Solemnly, the enigmatic figure in the corner lingered, a ghost in the shadows, awaiting an unknown arrival. Jack meticulously tended to the counter, his movements meticulous to the point of obsession, aligning bottles and dusting already pristine surfaces. An escalating unease permeated his actions, while the pendulum clock's steady ticks marked the passage of time. Another revelation seized my attention. Nestled amidst the bottles beneath the counter, a weathered notebook lay concealed. In Jack's absence, I perused its yellowed pages. Neatly penned entries populated the pages, chronicling names, dates, and locales in meticulous order. Yet, the cryptic annotations on the final pages beckoned, a series of nonsensical numbers accompanied by intricate symbols etched with meticulous care. Footsteps interrupted my reverie, The mysterious figure had finally stirred from their secluded enclave, departing into the rainy night. A fleeting exchange of weighted glances transpired between them and Jack as they passed the counter, laden with palpable tension. In that fleeting moment, the bartender offered a imperceptible nod before the stranger vanished into the darkness. Jack resumed his duties, though a subtle shift now tinged his demeanor. His usually steady hands quivered as he stowed away the glasses, his gaze adrift in distant contemplation, as if wrestling with forgotten memories. As I readied to depart, Jack stayed my hand with a gentle touch. "You know," he murmured, his voice a soft caress, "there are tales that only a bartender bears witness to, secrets that should remain veiled within these walls. Yet the burden of these hidden truths grows weighty to carry alone." A pregnant pause lingered before his next words. I turned to face him, the flickering lamplight casting spectral shadows upon his weary countenance. The notebook lay half concealed amidst the bottles, a silent sentinel of untold mysteries. A weak smile played upon Jack's lips, failing to reach his eyes. "Return tomorrow," he whispered. "Perhaps a story will be shared, or perhaps not." Stepping into the night's embrace, rain still murmuring its tranquil melody, I glimpsed Jack through the window, resuming his meticulous tasks. Behind his daily rituals lay a deeper enigma, a mystery that may forever elude my grasp. As the lights of the establishment dimmed behind me, shrouding the secrets within, I pondered how many more untold stories lay hidden behind bar counters, how many silent sentinels like Jack safeguarded burdensome truths. The answer remained veiled in the rain's soothing cadence, enveloping the starless night in a cloak of mystery. Story 41. The grandfather clock in my study told midnight with its deep, familiar resonance, each chime spreading through the hushed air like whispers on the wind. Nestled in my worn leather armchair, an old book cradled in my lap, I savored the soft patter of rain against the window panes. The house sighed and settled, its ancient timbers easing into the embrace of night. My gaze wandered to the hallway door, its shadowy frame illuminated by the gentle glow of my reading lamp. There was a subtle shift in the air tonight, a whisper of change that danced just beyond my grasp. The brass handle gleamed differently, casting an enigmatic glimmer, or perhaps the wood's grain whispered a new tale. Despite residing here for 15 years, this door now felt like a stranger in the night. Standing up, I marked my place in the book with a delicate silk ribbon, the cool floor chilling my slippered feet as I approached the door. The air grew colder with each step, a hint of winter cloaking this corner of my home. My hand reached out, meeting the unexpectedly warm handle, a stark contrast to the ambient chill. The door swung open effortlessly, revealing the familiar hallway bathed in soft light. Everything seemed ordinary, the faded wallpaper, the worn carpet, the framed photographs adorning the walls. I closed the door, dismissing my fanciful thoughts as mere figments of an overactive imagination. That night, my dreams were filled with doors. They materialized in improbable places, blooming amidst gardens, hovering in the heavens, solitary sentinels on deserted shores. Each bore the same brass handle as my hallway door, radiating warmth despite their surroundings. With the break of dawn, I carried on with my daily routine, barely sparing a glance for the enigmatic door as I passed through it. It wasn't until dusk approached, casting long shadows, that I noticed a peculiar alteration. The door appeared lighter, as if time had etched decades upon its surface overnight. The brass handle now bore a weathered patina, a feature previously absent. Intrigued, I inspected it with a photographer's precision, noting the unfamiliar grain pattern and the shift in hues. The wood, once darker, now held a lighter essence, while the iron-black hinges transformed into burnished copper. Night after night, the door underwent subtle metamorphoses, oscillating between epochs of age and youth. The handle would shift, the frame would embellish or simplify, yet the hallway always remained unchanged. I meticulously chronicled each transformation in a journal, capturing the nuances with intricate sketches and detailed descriptions. The door never altered in my vigilant presence. The changes unfolded during the deep silence of the night, when my thoughts wandered elsewhere. One eve, determined to unravel the mystery, I decided to observe the door through the night. I positioned my armchair to face it, brewed a pot of strong tea, and settled in for a vigil. The grandfather clock's steady cadence marked the passing hours as I watched, my resolve unyielding despite heavy lids. At 3:17 a.m., the room plunged into a fleeting darkness as the lights flickered. In that ephemeral shadow, a subtle shift rippled through the room's atmosphere. When light returned, the door had transformed once more. The warm oak now boasted rich mahogany, adorned with shimmering silver inlays that seemed to dance at the edge of vision. Intrigued, I reached out to touch the carved crystal handle, hesitating as a gentle vibration hummed in the air, resonating like a struck bell. Amidst this revelation, I noticed a peculiar absence. The door bore no keyhole, a feature it never possessed in any iteration. Yet every morning, there had always been a keyhole beneath the handle. Puzzled, I delved into my journal entries, seeking mention of the keyhole, only to find none. Had I overlooked this fundamental detail, or was there a deeper force at play? The question lingered, a shadow of uncertainty clouding my thoughts. Now each evening in my study, I ponder the enigmatic door and its nightly transmutations. Sometimes, beneath the door's gap, I catch fleeting glimpses of divergent hallways, carpets of different textures, wallpapers of unfamiliar patterns, photographs unknown to me. Yet upon opening the door, my hallway remains unchanged. I contemplate rearranging the photographs, a test of reality, but an unspoken warning restrains me. A whisper from the recesses of my mind, cautioning against delving too deeply into the unknown spaces between perception and truth. The door continues its silent dance of transformation, each night unfurling a new guise. I've grown accustomed to its quiet evolution, finding solace in its mysterious allure. Perhaps it is not the door that changes, but my perception of it, shifting with each glance. Maybe both truths hold weight, or perhaps neither does. All that remains certain is the anticipation that stirs within me as the grandfather clock heralds midnight and rain taps against the windows. I await with bated breath the unveiling of the door's next incarnation and the secrets it may choose to disclose or conceal in the tranquil hours before dawn. Story 42. The night wrapped around me like a soft blanket, cradling me in its embrace. In the quiet of 2 a.m., the world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic ticking of the clock to keep me company. I sat on my couch, bathed in the warm glow of the reading lamp, savoring the tranquility that filled the air. As I lifted the cup of chamomile tea to my lips, a subtle movement caught my eye. It was the apartment next to mine, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. For months it had remained a silent enigma, untouched by the comings and goings of its neighbors. But on that particular night, a soft, flickering light seeped from beneath the door, beckoning me like a whisper in the wind. Setting down my cup, I rose from the couch, drawn to the unknown. With cautious steps, I approached the dividing wall, pressing my ear against its cool surface, searching for any clue to unravel the secrets that lay beyond. The stillness enveloped me like a cloak, yet there was an unspoken heaviness in the air, a presence that lingered in the silence. In the days that followed, my curiosity bloomed like a delicate flower seeking the light. I observed the peculiarities of the neighboring apartment with newfound interest. The pristine doorknob, the absence of accumulating mail, the elusive rustling that danced on the edge of perception. Each detail whispered a tale of its own, weaving a tapestry of intrigue that captivated my imagination. Delving into the building's history, I unearthed fragments of the past that only deepened the mystery. The apartment had been a phantom, a ghostly presence in the fabric of the building, its origins shrouded in whispers and half-truths. Even the kindly janitor, keeper of secrets untold, could offer no more than cryptic riddles and enigmatic smiles. And then, one fateful night, the sound of a piano drifted through the walls, a haunting melody that tugged at my heartstrings. I stood transfixed, as if caught in a dream, listening to the ethereal notes that wove a tapestry of longing and sorrow. But as quickly as it had come, the music faded into the void, leaving me alone with the echo of my own heartbeat. In a chance encounter with a neighbor, I sought validation for the inexplicable, but her words only deepened the enigma, casting shadows where there should have been light. The architect's daughter, bearer of truths long forgotten, shattered the illusion of the piano's ghostly serenade, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Yet the mysteries of the apartment persisted, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, a puzzle with no solution. The warmth of winter never breached its threshold, the rain never dampened its welcome mat. Each anomaly whispered a secret, a silent promise of the unknown that lay beyond. And then, one fateful evening, the door stood ajar, a portal to the forbidden unknown. My heart raced as I stood on the threshold, torn between curiosity and fear, between the allure of discovery and the safety of ignorance. In the end, I chose to step back, to let the mysteries of the night remain untouched, unexplored. Since that night, I have walked past the door countless times, each step a silent tribute to the enigma that dwells within. The flickering light, the distant melody, they linger in the shadows of my mind, a reminder of the unseen world that exists just beyond reach. And though the temptation to unravel the mystery beckons, I find solace in the unknowable, in the quiet presence that lingers in the stillness of the night. For in a world of certainty and clarity, is there not beauty in the unknown, in the mysteries that defy explanation and logic? And so I embrace the silence, the secrets, the whispers of the night, finding peace in the knowledge that some enigmas are meant to remain unsolved, some questions left forever unanswered. Story 43. The night was cloaked in silence, broken only by the rhythmic symphony of the train wheels caressing the tracks. Nestled in the final car, I found myself enveloped in a gentle glow emanating from the soft lights dangling above. The air held a comforting warmth, while the train's steady movement cast a spell of hypnotic tranquility over me. Beyond the window, the mist waltzed lazily in the darkness, morphing into fleeting shapes before melting away. In that solitary car, I believed myself to be the sole passenger, yet a subtle unease crept in. My reflection in the window melded with the obscurity outside, birthing an enigmatic presence on the other side. The lullaby of the rails whispered ancient tales, coaxing me towards slumber. A peculiarity caught my eye in the glass. A shadow loomed behind me, a figure seated a few rows away. I could not recall their boarding, yet there they sat, distinct and enigmatic. The train pressed on through the night, the wheels murmur carrying echoes of forgotten lore. I pivoted slowly, cautious not to betray my curiosity. Bathed in an amber glow, the car stretched long shadows across vacant seats. The figure shrouded in a dark coat remained motionless, their visage obscured under a broad-brimmed hat. Time dilated as I gazed at this silent interloper. Memories not my own hung heavy in the dense air. The passenger sat as though melded with the train itself, silent, unmoving. I rose tentatively, feigning a trip to the restroom at the car's rear. Drawing closer, I noted the figure's coat, absorbing light as though shunning it. A chill lingered, carrying whispers of lavender and aged parchment. Passing the enigmatic occupant, time stilled for an instant. The rumble of the rails receded, distant as if from another realm. A disquieting realization struck me. Beneath the coat, no breath stirred, no life palpable. Halting at the car's end, I hesitated, torn between advancing and retreating. The corridor extended infinitely, hypnotic patterns dancing in the dim illumination. Glancing back, the seat once occupied by the mysterious figure lay vacant. In its stead, an ancient train ticket rested, weathered and yellowed. Trembling, I retrieved it, unveiling a date 50 years past, on the very day. The ticket exuded warmth, as though just relinquished by a phantom hand. Returning to my seat, the train forged ahead, wheels crooning their familiar melody. The fog thickened outside, shadowy figures flanking the train in a spectral promenade. Wariness descended, prompting contemplation of those who had crossed paths with the mysterious passenger aboard the final nocturnal voyage. The ticket I clutched stood as the sole proof of that surreal encounter. Yet even it wavered, ephemeral as a vanishing dream. The train bore its secrets and unseen passengers through the night as I succumbed to slumber. Amidst the lavender-scented air, I fancied the faint echo of retreating footsteps down the car's corridor. Story 44. The autumn breeze whispered gently through the rustling leaves as I meandered along the rural route, the setting sun casting a warm glow across the sky in hues of amber and lavender. The GPS had ceased its guidance a few miles back, yet I harbored no concern. Familiar with these lands, or so I believed, I pressed on. The dirt path curved leisurely amid hills cloaked in dormant vineyards. A breath of fresh air wafted in through the cracked window, carrying the fragrance of moist soil and fallen foliage. In that suspended moment, the world seemed to hush, inviting one to relish each passing second. Veering right at the weathered wooden sign, a peculiar realization struck me. This road did not align with my mental map of the region. Halting briefly to reorient myself, the elongating shadows cast evocative patterns among the trees flanking the lane. The road beneath my car's tires was impeccably maintained, too pristine for an obscure country byway. No potholes marred its surface, only a seamless ribbon of asphalt vanishing into the twilight mist. Listless leaves pirouetted in the air, as if time itself lingered in this place. Proceeding at a cautious pace, I observed the landscape with burgeoning fascination. The trees bordering the road appeared older and more twisted than those I had beheld mere moments prior. Their canopies intertwined overhead, crafting a natural tunnel through which the dwindling twilight filtered. Specks of light twinkled in the distance, akin to out-of-season fireflies. They waltzed gracefully between the tree trunks, flickering in and out of sight like fleeting memories. The silence, palpable and serene, was punctuated solely by the faint hum of the engine and the rustle of leaves stirred by the breeze. Advancing further, the road seemed to undergo a subtle metamorphosis. Its borders blurred as if painted by an unseen brush. Shadows deepened, though not menacingly. Reality itself seemed to soften, its edges dulled. Abruptly, a sight caught my eye. An antique brass mailbox perched on the roadside, so immaculate it gleamed anew. Devoid of any inscription, it bore only an intricate engraving depicting a compass rose. When I reached out to touch it, a faint warmth seemed to emanate from the metal, contrasting the cool evening air. The road continued its sinuous path, now revealing increasingly curious details. Dimly glowing milestone markers lined the edges, their luminescence seemingly emanating from within the stones themselves. Above me, the sky donned an indescribable hue, a shade seemingly unique to this forgotten realm. Stars timidly emerged, their presence altered, as if I gazed upon a firmament from another era or dimension. After what felt like hours or perhaps mere minutes, I crested a hill. The road opened into a small, circular clearing, its surface of ancient stones immaculately laid. At its heart stood an archaic wrought iron lamppost, casting a gentle, inviting radiance. Halting the car, I stepped out. The air hung eerily still, as if time held its breath. From my vantage point, the distant city lights I had departed appeared distant, as if veiled by an unseen barrier from this reality. Surveying the vista, I discerned a transformation in the road I had traversed. No longer modern asphalt, it now bore ancient, weathered stones worn by countless journeys. Yet I was certain it had been a contemporary thoroughfare mere moments prior. Retrieving my road map from the glove compartment, I unfolded it beneath the lamppost's glow, scrutinizing each detail. As suspected, this enigmatic road failed to feature on the map, as though I had ventured through a realm existing solely in dreams. Folding the map, a gust of wind caused it to tremble in my grasp. Fleetingly, golden lines seemed to materialize on the paper, tracing a faintly glowing path before fading. I blinked, and the vision dissipated. Lingering in that surreal expanse, I absorbed the tranquility it exuded. Upon deciding to depart, I noted the lamppost had extinguished without a sound. The road ahead lay shrouded in darkness, yet an unspoken intuition assured me it would guide me home. Driving towards the city, I cast furtive glances in the rearview mirror. The lamppost had rekindled its glow, its light waning as I receded. A gilded shimmer danced in the air, as if stardust had been sprinkled on the road unmarked by maps. In the ensuing days, I endeavored repeatedly to rediscover that road. Hours were spent traversing the countryside, exploring every fork and byway. Yet that singular path, with its solitary lamppost and luminous stones, eluded me like a vanishing dream upon waking. A faint golden trace on my aged map, visible only when illuminated just so, remained the sole vestige of my expedition, a cryptic secret awaiting rediscovery. Story 45. In the quiet stillness of the night, a veil of weariness draped over me, a remnant of the long workday that had passed. As I entered my study, the gentle glow of the desk lamp illuminated the room, casting soft shadows that danced along the walls adorned with shelves of ancient books. The scent of aged paper and ink lingered in the air, wrapping around me like a familiar embrace as I sank into the embrace of my worn leather armchair. Upon the polished wooden desk lay my treasured old diary, a cherished gift from my grandmother. Its brown leather cover and yellowed pages held the echoes of my innermost thoughts. Today, however, something peculiar caught my eye. The last page, which had been blank that morning, now bore elegant handwriting that was not my own. The ink appeared fresh, as if penned only moments ago. Intrigued, I leaned in, my breath slowing as I read the words that seemed to materialize before me. They painted a vivid picture of an autumn evening, describing the very room in which I sat. The soft patter of rain against the window pane filled the air, blending with the rustle of pages stirred by an unseen breeze. The flickering light of the lamp cast a mesmerizing play of shadows on the walls, drawing me deeper into the mystery. As I delved into the enigmatic prose, each word seemed to anticipate my next move. Curiosity urged him to turn the page, the text whispered, and instinctively my fingers obeyed, revealing new words forming before my eyes. It was as though an invisible hand guided the pen, capturing every sensation and emotion I experienced in that moment. Unable to tear my gaze away, I watched in awe as the narrative unfolded, now describing the very books that lined the shelves of my study. Titles I didn't recall owning were mentioned, yet as I glanced around, I found them to be real, tangible. The rhythmic cadence of the writing entranced me, like a hypnotic spell weaving through the silent room. I rose from my chair, but the pages continued to fill with ethereal script. Settling onto the couch in the corner, I observed as the rain outside intensified, cocooning me in a world apart from reality. The room seemed to pulsate with a newfound warmth, as if the mystery unfolding had carved out its own realm within the confines of my study. Closing my eyes, I surrendered to the soothing melody of the rain, only to open them to a revelation. The words now delved into the depths of my memories, unearthing moments long forgotten and emotions deeply buried. Approaching the desk with measured steps, I felt as though the diary was engaging me in a silent dialogue, drawing out secrets I had kept locked away. As the night progressed, the conversation evolved, leading me down a path of introspection and self-discovery. There was no fear, only a profound sense of curiosity mingled with serenity. Each word on the page felt like a revelation, a step towards unraveling a truth that eluded definition. With the toll of midnight, I realized hours had slipped by, lost in communion with the diary. The final words appeared, cryptic yet profound. Some mysteries don't need to be solved to be understood. Gently closing the diary, I traced the familiar leather cover with my fingertips, contemplating the profound shift that had occurred within me. The rain persisted outside, now a companion rather than mere background noise. As I retired for the night, I stole a glance at the study, where the diary lay undisturbed on the desk. Though outwardly unchanged, a transformation had taken place within me. The enigmatic pages had unlocked a deeper understanding, a revelation that defied explanation. Night enveloped the study in a cloak of silence, the lamp casting its amber glow like a silent sentinel. Some mysteries, I mused as I closed the door behind me, are meant to remain unsolved, their allure lying in the beauty of the unknown. Story 46. The wooden floor whispered softly beneath my feet as I made my way down the dimly lit hallway, bathed in the twilight of a setting sun. Grandma's house had always possessed a unique way of speaking, each creak and groan of the aged boards telling a story of its own. The air carried the familiar scent of lavender and aged wood, a comforting aroma that had been a constant companion during the summers of my youth. But on this particular evening, there was an unfamiliar tension in the air. Coming to a halt before the weathered attic door, a detail caught my eye that had previously gone unnoticed. The white paint, worn and chipped, bore peculiar markings etched into its surface. Drawing nearer, I realized these were not mere random scratches left by the passage of time. They seemed deliberate, forming a mysterious pattern as if someone or something had sought to convey a message from within. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting amber hues through the windows, elongated shadows danced along the walls. The only sounds disrupting the silence were the steady ticking of the grandfather clock downstairs and the gentle rustling of leaves stirred by the evening breeze outside. Tentatively, I reached out and ran my fingers over the markings, feeling the rough texture of the scratched wood beneath my touch. The patterns were intricate, almost geometric in their precision. Some marks were deep, while others barely grazed the surface, hinting at multiple attempts to inscribe them over time. I pondered how many times I had passed by that door without noticing the cryptic symbols. Grandma had never spoken of strange occurrences in the attic, yet I recollected how she always avoided those stairs. A chill swept over me as a cold breeze brushed against my neck, causing me to shiver. The hallway appeared elongated, the shadows denser than before. Taking the heavy brass key from its hook on the wall, I felt its icy weight and traced the faded floral designs adorning its surface. Inserting it into the lock with hesitation, I turned it slowly, the mechanism resisting slightly. A subtle noise caught my ear, a faint, almost imperceptible exhalation that seemed to emanate from the other side of the door. My heart quickened in my chest as I froze in place, the sound fading away, leaving only the hush of the house enveloping me. With trembling hands, I activated the flashlight on my phone, its beam piercing the shadows to reveal hidden details on the door's surface. The scratches formed an intricate circular pattern, a spiral weaving in on itself. In the center, I spied something that made my breath catch in my throat. A series of numbers delicately etched, nearly invisible to the naked eye. Struggling to decipher them, a distant memory surfaced in my mind. Grandma had once mentioned a secret diary hidden within the house, containing untold family truths. She never disclosed its location, but I recalled the guarded look in her eyes, a silent plea to protect something precious. The wind outside intensified, causing the ancient windows to groan in protest. The shadows in the hallway seemed to sway in a spectral dance to the eerie melody of the breeze. A connection formed in my mind between the numbers on the door and the elusive diary, yet an unspoken force held me back from turning the key further. Was it instinct or the ancestral wisdom of generations past coursing through my veins? As I retreated slowly, a faint scratching sound echoed from within the attic. Not menacing, but rhythmic and gentle, as if someone were painstakingly inscribing a new message. Casting one final glance over my shoulder, the scratches on the door seemed to shimmer in the fading light, emitting a faint, ethereal glow of their own. That night, nestled in my bed, thoughts of the mysterious numbers consumed my mind. Transcribing them into my notebook, I vowed to return the next day to unravel their significance. However, upon awakening, the attic door appeared unremarkable, devoid of any visible markings. Only the brass key, hanging on its hook, seemed to exude a peculiar radiance, hinting at a secret not yet ready to be unveiled. Since that peculiar evening, each visit to Grandma's house finds me standing before that enigmatic door. Sometimes I glimpse the markings reappearing in the dim light, or catch a faint whisper of breath from the other side. Yet I refrain from unlocking its secrets once more. Certain enigmas, it seems, are best left undisturbed, safeguarded within the quiet confines of an ancient house and in the memories of those attuned to its murmurs. Story 47. The moonlight filtered through the thin curtains, casting dancing shadows on the old wooden floor. I settled into my favorite armchair, enveloped by the silence of the night. My gaze drifted to the old mahogany box resting on the mantelpiece, a familiar yet enigmatic presence in the room. It had always been there, untouched, a silent observer of time passing by. The glossy surface of the box caught the moonlight, its carved decorations appearing to come alive in the darkness. It was as though the box held a secret energy, a hidden story waiting to be uncovered. Despite sharing my space for so long, I had never felt compelled to open it. But on this particular night, a subtle shift in the atmosphere drew me closer. Rising slowly from the armchair, the wool of my sweater brushing against the fabric, I made my way towards the box. Each step on the creaking wooden floor seemed to echo in the stillness, creating a sense of anticipation in the air. The box exuded a warmth that surprised me, a sensation of life within its wooden frame. Tracing my fingers along the smooth mahogany surface, I felt the intricately carved patterns under my touch. Leaves and branches intertwined, forming a mesmerizing design that seemed to move with a life of its own. Amidst the intricate carvings, a tiny eye caught my attention, hidden in plain sight. As I examined the box, a faint, ancient scent wafted from within, stirring forgotten memories deep within me. The aroma, reminiscent of sandalwood with a mysterious undertone, evoked images I couldn't quite grasp. A woman's gentle smile, whispered words lost in time, fragments of a past I struggled to recall. With my eyes closed, enveloped in the scent of the box, I felt a connection to a history buried in shadows. Memories surfaced, elusive yet poignant, hinting at a story untold. The wind outside whispered secrets, pulling me back to the present moment. Sitting on the couch, the box in my hands, I felt a weightlessness within its confines. A subtle movement, like a fleeting shadow, stirred inside, captivating my senses. The warmth it emitted seemed to intensify, drawing me deeper into its enigmatic embrace. A sense of familiarity washed over me as I gazed at the carved eye, a silent witness to the mysteries held within. Remembering my grandmother's cryptic words, a new understanding dawned upon me. Some truths reveal themselves in the stillness and the acceptance of the unknown. Placing the box back on the mantelpiece, I felt a silent acknowledgement in the carved eye's gaze. Returning to my armchair, a profound tranquility settled within me. The room seemed to hold its breath, the moonlight painting patterns on the walls with a gentle touch. Closing my eyes, I let the lingering scent of the box guide me towards sleep. In that liminal space between wakefulness and dreams, a soft sound, like a sigh of relief, whispered through the room. The box remained a silent guardian of its secrets, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to be cherished, not unraveled. As the night embraced me in its quiet embrace, I found a peace unlike any I had known before. The moon continued its watchful gaze, casting a soft glow over the room. And in that moment, I understood that some stories are best left untold, hidden in the shadows of time where they belong. Story 48. The gentle patter of autumn rain whispered against the glass of my office window, a soothing lullaby as I delved into my work in the quiet of my study. It was a night where time itself seemed to slow down, cocooned in a symphony of raindrops that painted a natural, hypnotic melody. The soft, warm glow of my desk lamp bathed the yellowed pages of ancient manuscripts I meticulously organized for the city's historical archive. And then she appeared. A solitary figure emerged, crossing the square beneath a vibrant scarlet umbrella, a striking contrast against the muted palette of autumn hues. There was a mysterious elegance to her movement, a rhythmic dance that harmonized perfectly with the falling rain. Each evening, like clockwork, she graced the square with her presence, becoming a silent part of my nightly ritual, a moment tinged with intrigue. Her face remained veiled by the shadow of her umbrella and the misty rain that enveloped her like a shroud. But one night, as she paused in the heart of the square, a fleeting glance in my direction revealed a hint of a smile on her ethereal visage, illuminated by the dim streetlights. My heart skipped a beat before she continued on her path, vanishing into the swirling evening fog. As days passed, subtle disturbances began to stir. Water stains appeared on the manuscripts I handled, as if touched by rain-kissed fingers. The delicate fragrance of antique roses lingered in the air, a ghostly presence that defied logic, seeping through closed windows. And then a mysterious photograph materialized on my desk, depicting the square half a century ago, with a figure holding a red umbrella amidst the crowd, the only splash of color in the monochrome past. In my quest for answers, I unearthed the tale of Sarah Thompson, a young librarian who once walked the same halls as I did, her red umbrella a symbol of her love for ancient tomes. Tragically, her life met its end in that very square on a rainy night, much like the ones I now found myself immersed in. With each page I turned, the scent of roses intensified, the rain outside morphing into a gentle serenade, as if a forgotten melody whispered in the background. The documents seemed to come alive, rustling as if brushed by an unseen hand. And when I dared to look up, there she was, closer than ever before. The red umbrella lay folded, revealing her face, kind eyes, a serene smile. No fear gripped me, only a profound sense of melancholy and comprehension. After that poignant encounter, the woman with the red umbrella never graced the square again. But on rainy nights, when the archive fell into a hushed stillness and shadows waltzed upon the walls, I could sense her presence lingering. The echo of her footsteps, the faint scent of antique roses, whispers of her essence that refused to fade. Sometimes, as I perused ancient texts, I would find fresh droplets of water on the pages, as though someone had just caressed the paper with rain-dampened fingers. I often pondered if Sarah still watched over her cherished books, if her spirit roamed the rain-washed streets with her red umbrella in hand. This tale remains my secret, a tender bond shared with the shadows of the library. And whenever rain taps gently on the window panes, a smile tugs at my lips, knowing that somewhere in the tapestry of time, a woman with a red umbrella continues her eternal journey. Story 49. The night draped its silent embrace around the house as the wind whispered softly through the leaves of the ancient tree in the garden. Nestled in the armchair in my bedroom, I observed shadows waltzing on the walls in the flickering lamplight. It was that magical hour when sleep beckoned, yet a strange resistance had taken root within me, defying Morpheus's gentle call. Night after night, for weeks on end, a recurring dream had woven its way into my slumber with eerie precision. The room's warmth and the steady cadence of the old pendulum clock worked their soothing magic on me. My gaze fell upon the open diary resting on the desk, where I had meticulously transcribed every detail of that haunting dream. Each page bore my meticulous script, narrating the identical sequence of events. A spiraling staircase of gray stone spiraling downwards, the distant melody of water droplets, and a massive wooden door adorned with enigmatic symbols. As I flipped through the diary's pages, a detail that had eluded me before caught my eye. In each iteration of the dream, the chill seemed to intensify as I descended the stairs. My fingertips grazed the frigid stone, and my breath hung in the air in wisps of mist. Yet what truly set this dream apart was the profound sense of déjà vu that accompanied me on this enigmatic journey, as if the staircase led me to a place deeply familiar, though unexplored in my waking life. The door at the staircase's nadir always remained shut, but with each passing night, I inched closer to deciphering the intricate symbols etched upon it. Fluid shapes that seemed to writhe under my scrutiny, as if imbued with a life force of their own. In the dream, my fingers traced the contours of these enigmatic symbols, eliciting a subtle vibration that rippled through the wood, as if the door itself pulsed with a hidden heartbeat. On this particular evening, as I readied myself for slumber, a peculiar object caught my attention in the room. Nestled beside the lamp on the nightstand lay a small item I could not recall ever beholding before: an ancient bronze key, its ornate designs oddly reminiscent of the symbols adorning the door in my dreams. I picked it up, taken aback by its weight and the icy chill it exuded. Its presence felt oddly organic, as though it had always been a part of my existence. I settled into bed, clutching the key tightly within my grasp. Its tangible weight reassured me of its corporeal reality, distinct from the ethereal realm of dreams. As slumber enfolded me, a premonition whispered that this night would diverge from the usual script. The dream unfurled as usual. The spiral staircase, the melodic drip of water, the frosty air thickening with each descent. Yet this time, as I approached the door, the key in my hand thrummed faintly, harmonizing with the symbols etched into the wood. Bringing the key to the door, I discerned for the first time a hidden lock nestled amidst the carvings. My heart drummed a slow, steady rhythm as I inserted the key. The mechanism yielded with a soft, melodious click, akin to an ancient, forgotten tune. The door swung open leisurely, unveiling not another chamber, but a looking glass reflecting the staircase behind me. In the mirror's reflection, however, the steps ascended instead of descended. I awoke in my room, the gentle dawn light filtering through the curtains. The key still rested in my palm, now imbued with a subtle warmth, almost pulsing with vitality. Upon the diary, spread open on the desk, a fresh page lay inscribed, not in my hand but in characters akin to the door's symbols, their shapes morphing like undulating waves on an ink-swept sea. Since that fateful night, the dream has not revisited me. The key lies serenely on my nightstand, occasionally emitting a faint hum on particularly tranquil nights. I often ponder what awaits at the apex of that mirrored staircase, and whether one day I shall muster the courage to ascend. For now, I find solace in observing the dancing symbols within the diary, their cryptic tale unfolding in the darkest watches of the night, a narrative perhaps not yet meant for my comprehension. Story 50. The gentle melody of raindrops tap dancing on the rooftop enveloped me as I settled in for another tranquil evening in my rustic country abode. Serpentine patterns formed on the window glass, illuminated by the flickering candlelight I had summoned to combat encroaching darkness. A soft breeze whispered through the garden trees, their leaves rustling in a soothing rhythm akin to a lullaby of nature. Nestled in my beloved armchair, cradling a warm cup of tea, I idly observed wisps of steam spiraling gracefully into the air. The house murmured its usual symphony of familiar sounds, the subtle groan of time-worn wood, the steady tick-tock of the hallway clock, the gentle whistle of wind dancing through hidden crevices. All was as it should be, yet an intangible unease began to stir within me, disrupting the tranquility of the night. It was during a thoughtful sip of tea that I first noticed the anomaly. The upstairs bedroom window, visible through the hallway mirror's reflection, glowed with an ethereal light, as though a phantom candle had been kindled within. But I knew for certain that no source of light resided in that room. Setting down my cup with deliberate care, I rose from my seat and made my way towards the staircase. Each creak of the wooden steps, a familiar companion from years of residency, now seemed to echo with newfound significance, as if the very house sought to impart a message to me. The air grew chillier as I ascended, a faint mist clinging to the walls of the upper hallway. Upon reaching the bedroom door, I hesitated briefly before turning the icy brass handle. The door swung open with a muted squeak, revealing a chamber shrouded in shadows. The window, the same one I had glimpsed in the mirror, remained firmly shut. Yet to my astonishment, the lock began to shift of its own accord, guided by unseen hands. Slowly, inexorably, the window started to open, propelled by an unseen force. The breeze that wafted in was too gentle to account for the window's movement, carrying with it a scent both sweet and ancient, reminiscent of dried blossoms and aged timber. Drawing closer to the window, I watched raindrops pirouette into the room, forming intricate patterns in mid-air before alighting upon the wooden sill. To my amazement, the drops defied gravity, swirling in mesmerizing circles before settling upon the floor. As I beheld this inexplicable display, a ghostly script materialized on the misted window pane, as though an invisible hand inscribed cryptic messages upon the glass. Straining to decipher the blurred words, my heart quickened its tempo in my chest. The curtains billowed gently, though no breeze stirred within the room, their movement resembling the rhythmic breaths of a slumbering being. Moonlight filtered through rain-laden clouds, casting shifting shadows that seemed to narrate silent tales upon the walls. Extending a hand towards the glass, I felt the cool breath of the night air caress my fingertips. Just as I reached out to touch the window, it closed with a delicate sigh, moving as languidly as it had opened. The latch clicked softly into place, and the ancient fragrance that had pervaded the room began to dissipate. I stood transfixed for several moments, attuned to the continuing patter of rain outside. Though the room had reverted to its normal state, a subtle shift had occurred. It was as if the house had granted me a fleeting glimpse into another realm, a realm existing parallel to our own, visible only in those rare moments when the veil between reality and enigma thins to a mere whisper. Since that fateful night, whenever rain falls, I find myself ensconced in my armchair, gazing at the reflection of the bedroom window in the hallway mirror. Sometimes it remains motionless, while on other occasions it unfurls in a silent ritual that has become an integral part of my existence. The source of this phenomenon remains a mystery, yet I have come to embrace it as a facet of the enigma that shrouds my home, a clandestine pact between myself and the ancient walls. And on nights of profound stillness, when the wind murmurs through the trees and rain cascades gently from the heavens, I almost sense a familiar presence, a spectral guardian watching over me, manifesting through a window that opens of its own accord.